Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. What's going on, man? Trying to get things set up here. I'm working at trying to set the live stream up. So I think we should be okay. There we go. Hey, look, I think we're live now. So what's going on, man?
Just chilling, listening to some music and chilling on a Friday.
Hey,
can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right.
Let me set my phone up here so I can listen to you. You. All right, I think we're set. So what's going on, man?
Nothing.
I hear you, man.
The snow.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
That's not. You heard from Wayne?
I haven't yet.
I meant to text him on Christmas time, but I guess he's doing all right.
So yeah, man. Good, man. Good. So we are live. We are live in the place, man. We got a bunch of people coming up, man. Thanks for showing up. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Welcome to the Ghettos of the Mind podcast. This is first of an episode of a long time. We've been doing this. This originally started as a terrestrial podcast. Myself and a few others, we did this, and we talked about different issues. And after a while, we kind of did a few episodes. We kind of a lost trail in the band, but I think certain pandemic things kind of threw things out of whack. So I haven't been doing it for a while, and over the past few times, I've been sort of deciding, flip-flopping, decided to come back with some topic to really do some discussion topics. What this is about is kind of just people discussing topics. You know, I kind of want to be the one to kind of have certain topics by different individuals. I invite certain people to come on board. We got a lot of people to show up. Hopefully a lot. We'll see. Shows up. A lot of people here. My man Sean and Aaron should be checking in. I don't know if his computer's acting up. Hopefully we'll get them online. And I want to discuss a few things about what's going on and kind of get the ball rolling. So what's going on, man? My name is Street Librarian. That's my new nickname now. I'm going by Street Librarian now.
Okay.
What's going on with you, man?
Sean Hardy, aka Truck Hardy.
Chuck Hardy, that's right. Chuck Hardy.
Yeah.
Chuck Hardy's in the house, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So it's you know, it's a new year, 2022. Yeah, everybody is trying to do something new for the new year. I want to try a new workout program. I want to do this, blah blah this, and get in shape. Do this, do less, do the less of this, more of that, whatever. Have you thought of what your resolution plans were for the year? Do you have any?
I have a dry erase board upstairs, and I had some stuff for 2021. I just erased it all, but I'm trying to have my own business. Being a DJ, I travel throughout Connecticut and other states, and I've DJ weddings and the most nicest hotel ballrooms to the most crappiest VFW ballrooms. And, you know, I've always felt that, you know, you should be able to have a nice venue where people can come and you know, celebrate their party, birthday, wedding, you know, stuff like that. So that's what I'm looking to do. I got my eyes on a few existing buildings and seeing if they open to joint ownership or being a silent partner in some stuff. So
really? Wow.
We'll see how that goes.
Interesting stuff, man. What? So, I was gonna ask you, man. How much of your did you complete any of your goals 2020, 21, or are you just
none?
Yeah, I kind of there's a meme that goes around. It's like, well, you know, 2020 you started out one way, you know, you had all these big plans. 2022 comes and you're like bottom of the barrel. So what's going on? We got others in the place, man. Mr. Aaron is in the house, and DJ, what's going on, man?
What's up, my brother? Happy New Year.
Good. I'm Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I was just talking with Sean was trying to figure out what was going around asking people what their New Year's resolutions are, what their plans for 2022 is that they want to do differently, or do they have any? You just like 2020 is great, and I want to. What about you, DJ? What you got? What's your plans for 2022?
Man, it's the same, man. Just to, concentrate on my health, man, and just treat others like I want to be treated, brother.
I hear you. Yeah,
Real simple.
I hear you, man.
What's going on, DJ?
What's going on?
Hey, Sean.
And we got Mr. Leon there. Leon, what's going on, man? You're muted. I can't hear you, man.
Hold on.
Okay, I hear you. Come on.
When's the high class of 89?
Yeah, man. We got when's the hype in the place, man? What's going on?
What's up, family?
What's going on, man?
What
Happy New Year, man. Happy New Year.
Same here.
I was we may have a few other people showing up. A couple things I want to keep going. Say what you want to say. One of my resolutions is to talk less and listen more. I'm working on that, so but I also want everyone to not step on everybody's toes. So I'm sure everybody got something to say, but let's try and keep it cordial. Not even cordial. Cordial isn't the right word, but just
we can only try.
We can only try. Aaron, what's going on with you, man?
I'm already having the best year of my effing life.
All right, you living
I
a
just
life.
graduated. I have so many job opportunities. It's not even funny.
Don't brag, man. You're bragging, man.
Can
Style
you
everybody
blame me?
bragging. I can't blame you. No, you can style everybody.
Oh God. It feels like I've been in the same place for well over a decade. And it's like, I don't know what comes next, and I'm enjoying it.
It's the next
I have
step.
a lot of job opportunities. It's just a question of which one is going to pay off first.
Well,
I don't know what comes next, and I'm excited, and I just can't hide it.
That's the next step. So yeah, man. So there's more folks in the room. So one of the things we want to talk about is politics. Obviously, that's one thing we're gonna start off with. Start really on a big scale. Actually, just think about it. This is the 1 year and a day anniversary since the insurrection happened in Washington, and there's also lots of talk in regards to that, and it's sort of a weird time now, especially in this time of history with what's going on. And I kind of want to get people's ideas in terms of where they think not our country's headed, but where are we headed? I'll start with you, DJ. You seem to be the most politically astute person here, or most diversion of opinions. What say you about 2022? What do you feel is going to happen?
Man, this is going to be, I can't say that it's going to be, this year is going to be different from any mid-year election. Usually, we now know presently that the Democrats have the presidency, they have the House and the Senate. Well, the Senate 50-50 with Kamala having the tiebreaker. But historically, in the midterm, that usually switches, and the reigning party usually loses either their House or Senate seat to the opposing party. This year, and this is just my prognostication, is with everything that's going on. If you look at the polling approval ratings for the president, and that usually leads. That tells you how people may lead as far as his approval rating. That tells you how America in general will vote in the midterm elections. And if we go based on what his approval ratings are right now, which I think is 42%, it just doesn't look good for the Democratic Party, especially with many of the issues going on as far as inflation, the border crisis, supply chain, even COVID. I mean, he's switched in just recent weeks. In the recent past week, he went from when he was running, campaigning, and president-elect, basically saying that, you know, that he can solve. He has a plan, and he will solve the pandemic problem.
Mm-hmm.
And as everybody can tell, I don't think anybody can solve it. I think the pandemic is endemic, and it's here to stay.
I agree. I mean,
Much like the flu, we're gonna have to live with it. That might be the new norm. And
Agreed.
And as far as testing, everybody's frustrated. So it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be real tough in the November days. Somehow they're gonna have to do a 180, or there are gonna be problems for the Democratic Party. There's gonna be what they call the red wave. And of course, I mean, I can start with that, but of course, the biggest issue as of yesterday was the anniversary of January 6th.
Right.
But I can just begin with that.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Ty.
No, you go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say part of that that red wave will be helped if the Voting Rights Act is not passed. That they're trying to get passed now. So, you know, all the things that are going on to try to change the votes or prevent folks from voting since the 2020 election. If that red wave, and I agree to a certain extent, that red wave will come, but not passing the Voting Rights Act will help tremendously, help the Republicans tremendously.
I've been still in. I mean, just can you explain to me what was the story with the Voting Rights Act? I've been hearing that sort of off and on, you know, different what's called. How does that work? How is that working with them trying to cut the Voting Rights Act out? What would that mean? You know what I mean?
Meaning added restrictions, the Voting Rights Act will prevent states from adding all these extra part of the Voting Rights Act. I will say that I'm not 100% versed on the total, like from A to Z, but part of the Voting Rights Act will make it so that the states can't impose these crazy restrictions on voting. Meaning, example, Georgia is able to vote like they have groups of folks at churches on Sunday. They're going to vote after church or whatever. Georgia is trying to restrict that. They're trying to restrict mail-in ballots. A whole bunch of stuff like that made it easier for folks to vote. A lot of these laws in the states that these states have produced are trying to prevent that. The Voting Rights Act will make it put it on a federal level to where they can't do that. That's part of what I understand.
Something that's ironic with that, the Texas lawsuit from last year was them trying to say, you know, it was Texas trying to dictate other states' voting rights. And the entire time they were doing it, I just kept thinking, then you want a federal law passed to set this up. Your state does not have the grounds or the standing to dictate any of the states and how they handle their elections. This was adjudicated in court in the 2000 election. The Supreme Court held that even if, say, a state's voting laws are technically unfair, the people of that state pick their electors to pick their laws, meaning it's representative of what their state wants. If you want there to be a big sweeping change, you want a federal law, which is all the more ironic because we're talking about getting a federal law passed with zero Republican support. It's almost like it's not about the issue. It's about staying in power.
Yep. Especially after what happened when the number of people who voted. I mean, Georgia was what, purple now? I mean, Georgia has two
Texas is
Democratic
probably going to go
senators.
that way soon too.
Yeah, they almost did. I mean, even down to the levels of putting in certain secretaries of states and who certifies the election. They're even that. But that's the problem with politics, I guess, because it's not only on the federal level, you need local to really be effective. And people just aren't, some people aren't that deep.
Well, shouldn't we leave that up to the individual states? Because right now, as the law stands, the state legislatures are the ones that determine the laws regarding voting rights. So that what they're planning now let's talk about the elephant in the room when it comes down to changing these voting laws. They're talking about no ID. How many of you feel that people should be allowed to vote without presenting an ID? That's the elephant in the room.
Yeah. I mean,
Leon,
you want to do this or I can?
Go ahead. You go ahead, Ron.
Voter registration.
Go ahead, Aaron.
You have to register with the government before you vote. Every time, like I literally would walk around, give everyone the information, they submit it back into City Hall, they would be registered. That information would then go to the federal government, the state government, then the federal government. So if someone say vote it twice, i.e., like let's say I take your name, DJ, and try to vote for you, it would get caught twice, and then they would throw out the votes. It's kind of redundant. It doesn't have this magical effect that keeps saying it does. This is the same reason why you can't be illegal or not be an American citizen. You would have to submit all of your information into the government just to vote, meaning the illegal aliens can't do it. Someone can't vote twice. It would be caught. It's redundant. What in practice, because here's the thing, it's never about directly doing this shit. It's about finding ways to sneakily do it. A dog whistle, if you will. If your voter ID is expired, if you are poor and overworked, chances are you might not have the time to take the day off and go to the DMV, or it's lapsed, then you don't get to vote because of a technicality, which as a guy from a very poor background, it's happened to me before. I know my thing was expired and I had work the next day. That shit sucked.
How many people cannot get an ID in 365 days of the year? If you lose your license, can you find time to go get your license?
I guess I should put it to you this way. When does everyone know right now when their license expires?
It usually expires around your birthday, I think.
Yes, it does.
What year I don't know if everyone wants to put their information out there like that, but when does all of our licenses expire? Does everyone know off the top of their head?
It's 5 years. Right?
It varies. I don't know. It's 3 years, 5 years. It all depends on how much they charge. Usually it's like 5 years now, but I think it was like 3 years at one time. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think even mine here is like 7, I believe. Mm-hmm. So, but real quick, going back to what you were asking before about ID, like what ID do you need to use to absentee vote? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's
what or even mail in your ballot. What ID are you using?
You have to be registered. You have to be registered. So they go by and they use your signature. They use your signature, not just on the mail-in. You have to put your signature not only on the outside envelope, but you do it on the inside of the envelope. That's them signatures are supposed to be kept for 2 years. You can't when they go in, when they poll and they bring these absentee ballots in, they can't throw them away once they throw them through the machine. They're supposed to be held so that people for record for 2 years. So they will verify your signature based on your signature on your voting registration card.
So what's the problem then?
What's the problem is that part of the voting law is saying that you cannot, that no one should have to provide a photo ID. And I'm sorry, I'm insulted when they tell me that Black people are incapable of getting a voter ID.
I feel like this whole issue keeps over the
picture ID. I'm insulted that Black people are incapable of getting a picture ID.
I'm saying that's separate from what the actual issue is. Most of us, I would say most average Americans, isn't every step of the way like, oh no, my expiration date's coming up, I better go change it immediately. Most of us barely even notice, and ultimately it's redundant. You already have to register. What this actually does in practice is if someone does have it lapsed, and if this person is poor or overworked or have a certain background towards it, no good.
Well, it's not, in my opinion, it's not redundant, because if you know elections is coming up November 3rd, 4th, 5th, or whatever, you know you have to produce an ID when you go into the office.
You're talking about the way people should be, how they should handle this, as opposed to how they actually are.
So DJ,
I've
let me
been
ask
pulled
you,
over and my license has been expired. It's happened to me.
let me ask you a question. How does that work? Say you're homeless, or say you're transient. You lived in several different locations. How does
soldier?
The soldier, you're probably the government, essentially. Right.
Soldiers, people like soldiers and stuff like that. That's what the absentee ballot was made for.
Right. Or expired.
Bedridden. Many of the people I actually registered to vote were extremely disabled and handicapped. They physically could not get out of bed to go and vote, despite the fact that they wanted to. This whole absentee, or they're in college in another state.
Right, correct. That's what absentee ballots was.
Right.
That's what it was made for. When they developed the absentee ballot, it wasn't for a state to send wholesale out to every residency, every person, and have them send it out to everyone to submit it. Let me say that. And we all know what the byproduct of sending out wholesale absentee ballots. You've all heard of the phrase ballot harvesting, and that is not a conspiracy theory. Everybody knows it happened.
Can you explain that to me? I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, explain it to me. I haven't heard that term.
You haven't heard of?
I haven't heard it. It's
Do y'all want me?
Ballot harvesting.
Please.
I don't want to dominate, because I will.
Brother, you.
So it's
tell me about ballot harvesting.
Let
Wait, hold on. Go ahead, Sean.
Wait, let Mike introduce himself first.
No, let's just go. Hi, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
I can't tell if your microphone is loud or it's just like because the audio is coming through my TV. Mike. Is that me or Mike?
It might be me.
Wait. So DJ's gonna explain about harvesting. I'm the uninitiated. Please explain it to me.
Oh, get ready for this.
Sean said he was gonna. Were you, Sean?
So, yeah, I was. And DJ, correct me if I'm wrong, right? Say we all have absentee ballots and the election is tomorrow. And I say, hey guys, give me your all your ballots. I'll go drop them off for you.
I've done that.
That's ballot harvesting. Is that correct, DJ?
Correct. If someone goes to an address, people go to a nursing home, they go to a nursing home, everyone in the nursing home will get an absentee ballot. Someone from a party will go to that nursing home and be allowed actually to go door to door and talk to a person and say, look, we're gonna vote. The election is so-and-so day. Would you like me to fill out your ballot? Not only that, but there are places where, because they don't have sending out these ballots out. There are people who are dead. There are people who have moved out of state. Because their records are not kept up to date, they are still sending out these ballots. So people can go to, let's say, a tenement building that may have 30 some apartments in it. When they are dropped off in the mail, someone can actually go to those mailboxes if they're not secure and grab all of the absentee ballots.
DJ
So-
Mass, can I ask you a question?
So what's if they're sealed, if the absentee ballots are sealed, what's the problem with that? I mean, that can happen via the post office.
And when a degree audit like double check this anyway, they can just be like, hey, we think there's been irregularities. Excuse me, Miss Susan, did you vote a certain way on this election? It's like, why, yes, I did, dearie. Or no, I didn't. Vote thrown out, vote not thrown out. It just seems like doing it this way would be better because it increases accessibility. I worked in a few homeless homes. Sorry, old person's homes.
There's also the fact that entire states like Oregon, I think it's either Oregon or Washington, already have
It's Oregon. It's Oregon.
already have extensive vote by mail programs, and those are generally viewed as the most secure elections that happen in the states. This whole ballot harvesting thing is it's not going down the way it's been forwarded to you, the way it's going down. That's the most polite thing I can say. Hi, I'm Mike. I am the resident, really passionate, yelly person. That's it. I'm gonna
So,
let you go back to whatever you're
you
saying.
were saying that, like, if say ballot harvesting, say I go to a nursing home and I get a bunch of old people, people who live there, their ballots, and I take them to the polling station for them. That's the idea behind it. And say I nefariously say, well, you know what, I'm going to put Mrs. Jones that says, or even, let's just say, first of all, let's just say I do that for people who aren't alive, people who moved around. Wouldn't, if they check the voting process, they find out, well, Mary Smith isn't alive anymore, so that doesn't count anymore. Joe Smith, this is not his address anymore. He lives, how would that, would it discount that?
It doesn't take place on voting day, bro. They'll find that out after the fact.
The other question I have is,
Okay,
Sorry,
so
it seems like
sorry. So
go ahead, let's go. Sorry.
makes
so
us
if they
more
find out after the fact, does that change the results of the election?
Does it affect?
Yeah, but
Well, we gotta understand, during election days, there are local, state, as well as federal elections going on. Do you know that the guy, the DA, do you know the DA of New York, the new DA who says, what's his name? What begins with a B? Y'all probably seen him in the news lately, and he says that he's not gonna prosecute anyone for crimes like trespassing and all that. Are y'all familiar with that?
No,
Yeah.
as I can't think of his name.
Well, let me tell you this.
Alvin Bragg.
He's the newly elected as of January 1st
Yeah, Alvin Bragg.
district attorney for Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name?
Alvin Bragg.
What's his name, Sean?
Can you hear me? Alvin Bragg.
Alvin
Oh,
You
Bragg.
didn't hear me?
Alvin Bragg.
Sean
He's saying.
breaking up.
Alvin Bragg. He was saying.
Okay. Do you know there's 8 million people in New York, and the county that he won, there's 2 million. Do you know how many people voted for him out of that 2 million?
How many?
1.07%. So when y'all say it doesn't matter, 1.07% voted, and he's the district attorney, and he's saying that he is not, unless you have a violent crime, he ain't even prosecuting crimes, bro. So y'all telling me when you say that those votes that when you things happen, gentlemen, that
I'm getting confused. Are we talking about voters' rights or what we want to district attorney to
Omar
do?
and her excuse me. Excuse me, what was that?
I was just confused because in one regard, are we talking about what we want our district attorneys, how do we want district attorneys to process criminal justice matters or voting rights?
No, that wasn't my point. My point was that you're saying that from what someone has stated, that apparently that ballot harvesting does not affect elections enough to change it. And I was using that as an example because in this case, out of 2 million people, 1.07 people voted. And so if there's a
That
concerted
sounds like low voter turnout.
yes, it is. Yes, it is. So just based on someone going out there in a county of 2 million people and just harvesting absentee ballots, people grabbing empty ballots and filling them out. And believe me, even in the last election in Georgia, they even have it on film that people were coming in. One person was coming in to a outside polling box, and dropping off multiple absentee ballots when he's only supposed to be.
But again, I'm not getting this issue because you have to register beforehand. All you would have to do is perform an audit, which they did in Georgia multiple times.
Yeah, actually, so even if
Les has something to say. Hi, Les.
Hey, how you doing? That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, go ahead, Les.
Sorry, Tom. So even if there is I guess harvesting of votes, right? How much does it affect the election, right? So even if there was a percentage of harvesting of votes, does it change the outcome of the election, right? And if it doesn't, I guess I don't understand what the issue is. So if it's 1%, right, and say a person won by 5%, what does it matter?
And even if there was say there was some discrepancy, you do an audit and you see, oh, too many people, they're illegal votes. You would discount those votes, then you'd have a runoff. It's like in any kind of election. You have a small town election and it's within percentage point, you have a runoff, you have a countdown again, and you just recount the votes. So say you have ballot harvesting and you have discrepancies and you go through the whole process, you audit and you realize, well, X amount of people, these are fake ballots, these are people that are dead or whatever the case may be, that should check and balances. It should, you know what I mean?
Oh, and to be fair, I know for a fact they did that during the all the fallout from the November election. I spent way too much time trying to research to find out if any of these claims were true. And from what I can tell, yes, some dead people voted in one state as much as 19, and those votes were thrown out. There were instances of dead people voting nationally, not enough to swing any elections in any one place. Like I even got a group of their names together.
You can even get into the minutia of dead people voting. If you sent your vote out 2 or 3 weeks or a month before the election and you die, a dead person voted. You know what I mean? So it you can get deep into the weeds of it, but I guess I'm going back to the issue of what we were talking about initially with the IDs and making it harder for people to vote. Like, and you're saying it should be on a state level. Like, what if 48 states, presently? What if 48? That's why there needs to be a federal law. Like, what if 48 states says that nobody can do absentee ballots anymore other than the military? What happens then?
Well, first of all, absentee ballot has been around for forever, and the purpose of it is for situations like that when you have members of the military serving
and
overseas.
College students.
And college students, disabled people who and so they would it's been around forever and stuff. So when and we just talked about harvesting, but that, like I said, is just part issue in it. And usually when something happened, when you mentioned about how can, if that's 1% of that happening, that there is voting, any type of voting fraud, 1%, if y'all remember what happened in this last election during 2020, recently, and when Virginia, the governor lost his position, a very blue state, You see what happened in New Jersey. The incumbent governor had to have it went down, they had to have a recount. And so that's how close. So don't say that those numbers don't matter when those things. My thing is, what's the problem with ID? Because with the ID, you got to catch a plane. I'm sure. Y'all tell me what people out there have issues, and you abstract. You mentioned it. What kind of issues come up that prevent examples where people cannot get an ID, and within 365 days?
Wait, did this happen in Florida leading up to it? A lot of people had parking tickets, small T fines, and they were denied the right to vote. Again, I imagine this situation where most Americans actually are. If you are working 40, 50, or 60 hours a week and your driver's license lapse, do you have the time to go out of your day to go get it fixed and then go down to vote in a place where there's not many polling places because you're in an urban setting? It's kind of creating this scenario or setup where it's more and more difficult for you to vote as a way to disenfranchise people to vote. The ideal plan should always be, what can we reasonably do to ensure that most people have access to the most paramount and basic thing in our country, the ability to vote? You dig?
It's not. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It's not. You don't need to just produce you can produce any official photo ID. It doesn't have to be just a driver's license.
I guess what I mean is, do you feel like it's a little redundant if you already have to register?
Not for the greatest.
That's doing the thing.
Not for the greatest.
I'm in there. I'm in there now.
The U.S. citizens that we have.
We can all hear you, Mike.
I'm in there. I'm sorry, I was eating.
Not for the greatest privilege we have as U.S. citizens. Voting is the greatest privilege that we have.
So why are they trying to make it harder for folks to vote?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Why are they trying to make it harder again, eliminating again, we go back to Georgia. Y'all can't vote on Sundays anymore. Or you know what I mean? Like with the early voting, y'all can't do that anymore. Or you can't give people water bottles in line anymore. That's illegal. Why, if like you just said, why are they trying to make it harder for folks to vote?
Well, first of all, these laws been in place. Do you know the only reason things changed? Can anybody tell me why things changed in 2020?
Because they don't like that they lost.
Because of COVID.
Pandemic? Yeah, I mean,
COVID.
Pandemic.
But the one with the water bottle and all that stuff, that they just put that in place. But Georgia, once Georgia lost, they added all of this stuff.
Yeah, the water bottle thing just seems ridiculous to me.
Yeah, that does seem kind of crazy.
Limited polling places that close on time. It's not a federal holiday. Don't give these guys water bottles.
Gentlemen, that I'm sorry. People are allowed. You cannot be affiliated with a certain party. Just like when you go to the polling booth, people have to be by law a certain distance away. They cannot. A person that's affiliated out there representing a certain representative or whoever, someone who's running.
So then why do they limit the polling places?
They cannot give you water bottles. But if people people who volunteer to stand out there and people standing in line and give them water, they can. It wasn't that nobody could not give you water.
Doesn't that speak to the?
Oh, go ahead, Les.
Doesn't that speak to the difficulty of voting? If they had to start giving out water because people were waiting in line so long, right? Doesn't that speak to the difficulty of voting?
What, handing out water? They're not saying you cannot hand out water. They're saying that somebody who works for a particular campaign, you cannot go and hand out water. People can go out there and hand water out.
Hey,
But
DJ,
Lex's point is when you're waiting 7 and 8 hours to vote, that's adding to the difficulty of voting. It shouldn't even be like that.
Well, when did who waited 7 and 8 hours? When
people
that
in Georgia, people
In
all over
Georgia.
the country
oh,
are
Yeah,
waiting.
can I
Right.
set the
Ever to vote.
stage for that? DJ,
7 and 8
so
hours?
yeah,
Yes.
what keeps
Yes.
happening is this. I know this more so in Texas than Georgia, but I know this is a big issue in urban environments, specifically for majority red states. What they do is, even though that population is growing, the number of places to vote or voter boxes is being limited, which has a spillover effect of making the lines longer, making it harder for these people to vote. And these are places where the population is growing exponentially. In Atlanta, that population is booming. In Texas, they're getting an influx of more and more more and more people, constituents, and mostly going to urban settings. So why is it that
And generally in these states where, and at least in the context of the conversation we're having, the election boards are particularly partisan. What you find is these areas that there's a high level of overlap in these areas where it's you have long lines to vote. One, there are just legitimate higher population values in these areas with long polar location. With these areas with long wait times for polling. But you also find that there is an overlap with the demographic, and they have found on many occasions that areas with high either Black, Latino, or generally non-white populations generally have larger waiting times, and areas with large student populations also have larger waiting times. And what they have found, they've actually found and proven this, that generally, and I hate to be this way, I've been trying to be like real quiet about it, but generally, Republicans have gone out of their way to make it difficult to vote in areas, specifically Black people and depending, on the leanings of the ethnicity, like Latino voters, they make it more difficult to vote in those areas in order to gently, softly, without as much of a heavy hand, discourage people from being able to vote. Whereas,
it's more urban discrimination. But
I was gonna say, I'll use myself as an example. I've never waited more than 20 minutes to vote, and I live.
I was gonna ask how many people waited.
Well, but here's the thing: I live in a suburban town. I live in a suburban town. I live in suburban Connecticut with a 98% white population, and it's down at the school. We all have cars, and a lot of us get up early in the morning, and they have people there all day. Whereas I can go over to still in New Haven, which is 15-20 minutes away, and see like longer lines, and that's assuming that whoever runs elections isn't trying to softly put their finger on the scale.
We've been working on that one in New Haven.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of ways to discourage people to vote by putting up barriers or impediments that don't look like discrimination but are. To your point about why everyone needs an ID, on its face, yes, being able to get an ID to vote should be the easiest thing in the world. But if you look at how these what the requirements for these IDs are, they're not free. They're not easy to get. They oftentimes require time that working people do not have, and by that I even mean people who go to have a 9-to-5 white collar job. Are not required, do not have the time to go around and collect the required paperwork, which is extensive, and do not have the extra money they need to either replace or generate the documents that are required. There are increasingly difficult standards to require, meaning that while on its face everyone can do it, who can meet these requirements, it is less likely that people from lower economic and social positions are not going to be able to feel the requirements because of the purposeful barriers put in place to make it difficult to acquire these documents. Like you have to go back to your home state and get a stamped birth certificate. In some cases, like my mother's from Georgia. My mother's from Central Georgia. And she's 73. She ain't going back down to Macon to find her hospital to get a stamped photo, a stamped birth certificate, and 4 pieces of mail and insurance and all that. Like she ain't going around to catch all that. Mm-hmm. And they know that, which is why they make those laws so difficult. They make the bar to cross that line so high so that it gets people to self-select out. And the ways and the bars that they pick also have a high overlap with people who all look like us, who can't meet those thresholds in order to be able to vote. And then they tell us it's about securing the vote so that they get us to lie to ourselves about it. They're trying to slowly erode our rights away, and they're using the rule of the law that exists to do it.
I think it's Leon Cern, man.
Going back to what you were saying earlier, I live in Virginia, so that's a whole. You brought up Virginia. I live in Virginia, in a suburb of DC. And I've actually had to wait 4 hours to vote before because of whether it be the gerrymandering, if you will, or the lines of where we are, and then the voting locations.
Describe gerrymandering of the lines. Describe gerrymandering of the lines. I don't know what you mean by that.
What'd you say?
Huh? Like gerrymandering of the lines. I don't know what you mean by that.
Okay, I'll come back to that. Wait, I need to turn my volume back up. Hold on.
You're good.
We can all hear you, man.
We can hear you.
But no.
Go ahead.
And also, I've had to wait in line for 4 hours to vote, just because that it was a whole huge group of people. The lines were drawn. This is where you vote. We all gotta wait here. That's one. But two, if when we're again talking about like trying to, with the laws that are trying to make it harder for folks to vote versus easier, one of the things that they want to eliminate is mail-in votes. Like you can't mail in votes anymore, i.e. Georgia. If you do that, people can't mail in their vote, then they have to get in line, and then they have to wait 5 and 6 hours. Again, which will discourage them from voting.
And you have to work. I mean? People got to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good point.
It's also
fortunately like here, like up when I did have to wait those 4 hours, I didn't have to do it anymore because they extended like a month out to where we can early vote. And that's another thing. Well, that's what I mean. They're trying to eliminate early voting, especially on Sundays. Why can't you vote any day if it's available? But you know, that's a whole another thing. But gerrymandering.
No, you made a good point. You made a good point. I think it should be voting day should be a daggone holiday.
It should be.
Yep, I agree.
Absolutely.
And the function of them not doing that is making it harder for people to vote, which is beneficial for them. I would love to make the argument that the arguments often being presented are on their face exactly what they say they are. They're not. It's politics. As a politician, you're going to do what you're incentivized to do.
Okay, so let me say this, because you mentioned they and stuff, and these urban areas where which according to what you said, that you have these long waits. You have are Republicans running these local areas or these urban areas, these cities, or do Republicans run them?
If they do the lines, yeah.
Republicans, like where you see this happening most often are places where Republicans run the state level allocation of votes. They run the state level voting apparatus. So you'll see it in Texas.
Florida.
You'll see in Alabama, when as soon as they gutted the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act in 2014, Alabama closed like half of the DMVs and polling locations that would have appeared in like the black belt of Alabama.
We're talking 20 and okay.
Yeah. I'm talking about the general structure, right? Because this is a process that, and I'm gonna just be blunt about it. The Republicans specifically have been using to dismantle or at least curtail, contract in the black vote. Fine, you're right. Disenfranchise. That's a better word than me, and I should know big words. I'm smart.
Smart.
The Republicans have been using the rule of law that that they can now to disenfranchise the black vote. Closing polling locations, creating long lines at polling locations, starting requirements for voter ID, discouraging outreach efforts. Am I not loud enough?
No, we're getting
You're good. You're good.
Okay, discouraging outreach efforts like being able to organize and give out water, or being able to collect ballots and submit them on behalf of other voters. Like all of these things. I don't just keep this to the black community because I don't know what's going on with the various.
Actually, Mike, I was gonna say you haven't said it, but the other function of a lot of this is if you are poor, if you're economically disadvantaged, are based on where you live, it's harder for you to vote. And that's not just something that affects blacks. It affects poor people, period. It affects the poor whites who live in these areas, who want to show support for their candidate or their party.
It does. And
I'm like, how do you not give a fuck about your own voters? Like, this is hurting them too.
I mean, I could tell you a couple of examples, but
I'm coming from the glass half. I'm trying to be glass half full.
I mean, yeah, that's fine. Like
I know we're
not upset about it. I mean, I am upset about it, but
sometimes I wish you and I weren't on the same page. But
look, I'm just happy I'm not apoplectic tonight, which is what I generally do. Now I'm gonna shut up for a while.
So. It's a good discussion. Good spirited discussion. I like this. I think we'll get some good.
I understand.
I have a question. DJ,
yeah,
are you open to absentee ballot by request only, rather than wholesale Secretary of State mailing them out to every registered individual on the voting rolls?
In the sense that it would probably lead to less
What do you call it? Aaron,
if you're
talking to DJ.
What's wrong with Secretary if you're registered to vote? What's wrong with the Secretary of State mailing it out? If you're a registered voter and you don't request a ballot, like I'm a registered voter and I didn't request a ballot and I got one, and then before I could vote. I went to early vote in person, but before I could vote, I had to void my because they had a record of me getting a mail ballot or mail-in ballot or whatever. So I had to void it in front of the person, and then I could regular vote. So what's the issue with that if it's being mailed, whether you ask for it or not?
Okay, so let me give you this scenario, right? Jane Doe passes away, but she still gets a absentee ballot in the mail, and someone in the household fills it out and mails it back.
They had that situation happen. They had that situation happen. A couple of times, a man submitted a ballot for his absentee wife. Here's the kicker: it was a Republican doing it.
Yeah, most of the time that's been the case.
Even if it happens, most of
the time that's been the case. What?
So,
that when a dead person had voted, it was a situation where it was somebody's spouse, they had passed away or whatever, and their significant other just voted on their behalf. So a lot of it's been clerical error,
but
not
if
so
it
much
happens like
purpose.
That, but if say the husband died, his wife votes for him, wouldn't his vote be thrown out because person's dead? You have a death certificate they'll avoid their vote. So
I'm gonna
go should happen.
I don't know, Todd.
Regardless
That
of your
is-
party affiliation,
Yeah.
Republican or Democrat, I'm going to say most people who are, I guess, politically responsible
Yeah.
wouldn't do that. Would not mail a vote on their person's behalf if they're dead. But I would say
Not even
most
dead,
people who
not
are
even
politically
dead. People that have
responsible.
left the
But
state.
it's not going to be, if it is,
Left
it's
the
one or
state.
two people, but it's not millions of folks doing that.
Yeah. The other thing, so here's what I think. I mean, good. I
ahead,
think
DJ.
that I think a lot of this is kind of, I think the whole idea of making it difficult for people to vote, that's a tried and true trope that's been going on for years. It's Black people for years. You know what I mean? After the 14th Amendment, after we got a right to vote, what happened? They had black codes. You have to have your grandfather be able to read for you to vote. You had to have a certain amount of, all these sort of hoops that they created to make it difficult. Right. Count jelly beans. All these weird. They had all
What do you
these
mean
weird
counting jelly beans?
Yeah, in a jar.
Sort of
You
arbitrary
had to guess how
reasons
many
that
bubbles
these
are in a bar of
towns kept
soap.
to keep
You know
black
what
people from
surprised-
voting.
You know what surprised me?
Go ahead.
That any of you would want the federal government with their bureaucracy involved in anything having to do with it. All right, so let me
You know
give
what's
an
really
example.
beautiful about bureaucracies?
Let me give you an example.
Mike.
Oh no, I kind of want to hear Mike.
Go ahead,
on
DJ.
this
Go ahead,
one.
let you go. What you saying? Go ahead. What you saying, DJ?
Let me give you an example. The filibuster. Now they're trying to change the filibuster, right?
Yeah.
Should. They
Oh,
And they
should.
ought to.
The reason that they're in this situation that they in today, Democrats, is because they changed the filibuster from a majority to 60%. They were warned. And not only that, you can see
That is a
Biden-
majority.
Hold up,
You
Mike.
wait a
Hold
minute,
up.
Let me finish. You can go on YouTube right now. You can see 10, 15 years ago, Biden, Schumer, Pelosi,
Harry Reid.
they all are sitting there saying that you change the filibuster, it's gonna be destruction for the democracy.
You know what
You
changed
go back
that?
now-
You know what changed that? You know what changed that sentiment? Do you know what changed that sentiment since that we're being real specific? You know what changed
I
that?
can't hear you.
I mean, my mic is on.
Yeah.
What
we can hear
changed
you.
what?
You know what changed
Okay.
that? The Republicans deciding that they were just going to filibuster every goddamn bill that came across the desk from the Democrats. That's what
Which
changed
has
that.
just been
Don't do that.
bad.
No,
for
I mean
democracy.
not to the egregious amount that Republicans do. And and all of that started. I don't know how you feel about Barack Obama, but all of that started when you can laugh, but it's true. Like you can laugh, but it's true.
I want to move
Let
on
me
and just
tell
keep
you this.
talking about
So
more
do y'all
specific issues,
agree?
not
Anyone
this in
that
the
has no-
abstract. Hey, my
Yeah,
name.
I think
Anyone
we
who
kind
knows
of.
history, anyone that knows political history, does anybody disagree? Does anybody disagree? Said happens and why we have a filibuster
Wait,
today.
DJ, can you start
Who
over
fought
again?
Wait,
is
you
it
breaking
Democrat?
up. You're breaking up.
You're breaking up, DJ. Say
You're
again.
breaking up, DJ.
The filibuster exists
I said-
because the Conservative Party and that switches decided that they were going to what do you want to say?
Who changed who changed it to 60%? Democrats or Republican? Tell me. Who changed it
It's
to a
always
filibuster?
been like 60%.
No, it
Yeah,
hasn't.
I'm not quite sure. It more
No,
like
It can be
How
adjusted,
did we get on
though.
this
Senator
specific
Reid,
part of the
look it up.
discussion,
Senator
actually?
Reid. Senator Reid
It's
did
not
it.
even really a law, though.
Harry Reid.
The Senate.
It's a
a
law.
Senate
It's a
rule.
practice that they have.
Yeah, it's a Senate rule, but it just
Wasn't
like
that to
they can
preserve-
alter the filibuster. They just altered it to pass the debt to raise the debt ceiling. So they can do whatever they want to do within the filibuster to accommodate whatever they need to accommodate.
The debt
Know what I
ceiling
mean?
ain't got.
It does in the modern
Bro, they
context.
didn't do it because they did not do it because to raise the debt ceiling. You know why they do it? Major laws like voting, like selecting Supreme Court justices.
Like
Stuff like-
fixing our police issue.
Listen, Well, that's not Bill, that's local level.
I'm saying
But,
my biggest beef with all the talk about filibusters and our current political
the
climate is kind of, we're not trying to solve problems. It kind of feels like the better play a lot of times is to stop the other party from doing anything, so we can then say government doesn't work to fulfill our base. And it's kind of like Americans are suffering under that. I would have liked to see some form of police reform argued and debated about the best way to do it. I would have preferred to see laws and bills get passed and debated on whether or not how we implement them. Unfortunately, what feels like been the entire play for most of my adult life has been, fuck that, let's make the other side look bad. Yeah,
you're right.
I'm like,
I agree with
they're
you.
Americans. We
I
are
agree
your
with
brothers
you.
and sisters. We are literally in this country together. And this practice of, like, even with the spending bill we just passed, I've seen these states. I have family in Mississippi. Y'all motherfuckers could use some infrastructure like there's no tomorrow. Where's the support? None. And I'm like, that's bad for you. That's bad for America. That's bad.
Yeah, but you get to own the libs. If you take it, you get to own the libs and then blame them for how shitty everything is in your state. That's the
I don't understand it though. I'm like, how do you hate your fellow Americans that much?
It's political.
Nigga, what country are you in?
And
excuse me.
Look at West Virginia. Look at West Virginia and Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin is one of the richest people in West Virginia, and he's not advocating for the people of West Virginia. You know what I mean? Joe Manchin, he has generations of wealth that's created, and if he votes against, he's what do they call Republicans in name only? Joe Manchin
Rhino.
Joe Manchin is a Democrat and name only. But he's not stupid. He owns those coal mines. So if he votes, his family owns a lot of that stuff in West Virginia. If he votes against that, that's money out of his pocket. You know what I mean? So it's my point is it's political. It's not about helping.
Selfish.
It's not about helping your constituents and who's in your state. It's political. I just heard on the news yesterday. They're political. What are the groups that just raise the Action Pact or whatever? Yeah. They have $1 million ads in West Virginia, telling people to call Joe Manchin and say, you better not vote against this or that. You better stay with us as Republicans in this. And he's supposed to be a Democrat. And what do you think he's going to do? Why do you think he's holding everything else up?
Right. So this goes to my argument. This goes to my argument of term limits for senators and congressmen.
I agree.
I agree.
And the second argument is if you make DC and Puerto Rico states, we won't have this problem. So
they are never going to do that.
Yeah.
They're never going to do that.
Do you
never?
Because
if you make DC and Puerto Rico, then there will be less representation. It will be more. It will be. They said that if we make DC and Puerto Rico a state, they're automatically assuming that they're going to be Democratic. So the Republicans will never have the majority again.
And I mean, how many electoral votes is going to come out of DC and Puerto Rico? One, and then you got to talk about Guam. You got to talk about Virgin Islands. You got to talk about
DC. Listen, I work in DC.
Is not a state.
I work in DC. DC needs to be a state. DC for real needs to be a state.
You think Guam? You think the people in Guam knows what's going on in the United States?
I'm not gonna argue about Guam.
You know, we do have
Puerto Rico it should be, but DC should be a state. I don't understand why DC is not a state.
Taxation,
they pay taxes.
Stop making that argument. You're hitting me right in my core American beliefs. Damn you, Leon. Damn you.
DC should be a state. I'm not driving to DC now because of the pandemic, but I work in DC. DC pays the highest taxes in the country. And the gas is almost $5 a gallon. DC should be a state. Taxation without representation. That's all I can say.
The primary opposition to DC and Puerto Rico being states isn't the population density. It's just ultimately that it will, especially in this charged the political environment, would endanger the current balance of the Senate. It would endanger the fact that while a city like DC has more people than live in the state of Wyoming. What, Aaron?
I was researching the way many of our states got formed. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when we would add on a new state, this is going back to like the 1800s, we literally set up what would effectively, that they knew would be a Democratic state and a Republican state, and always do it more or less at the same time.
Yeah.
A hypothetical situation. We make Puerto Rico a state. There's lots of evidence showing that many Hispanics lean more conservative than anything else, while simultaneously making DC a state, which I would guess would probably lean more Democrat. Balance, maintain.
Right.
Or you about
Puerto
to say,
Rico,
Sean?
yeah, you're right. Puerto Rico might have 2 electoral votes.
Right.
Right.
My argument is that, you know what? Then it should make whoever running for president be a 50. You got to go campaign in all 50 states.
Yeah.
Fuck Iowa. Instead of going to Iowa,
Electoral
New
college.
Hampshire, my vote in Connecticut matters just as much as somebody's vote in New Hampshire, Iowa. So
right, and to do that, we would need to essentially amend the Constitution to dismantle the Electoral College.
No,
and
but I
yes,
see your point, Sean. I see your point.
Yes, just legally you would have to.
Yeah,
and we
all
all
think about it like this, Sean.
So,
if you were running for president, and as a Democrat, just say as a Democrat, you're running for president as a Democrat, you are not going to if North Dakota has been red for 100 years, why are you going to go to North Dakota?
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Exactly.
You're not.
Only states you need to go to if you eliminate the electoral votes is New York, Texas, California, and what's the 4th largest?
It would still be more states in the ones they actually go to.
They do need it should be popular vote. If we want
that's where they go now.
It should be the popular vote if we want to move there.
Because there's the other problem with the way the Electoral College works. When it was designed originally, a certain amount of electors were based on population at the time. Other places have had their population grow exponentially, but their electoral college numbers haven't, which means as time goes on, it becomes less and less representative. Not to mention the 5 times that it was completely ignored.
That's not true. New York and California lost electoral votes because of the exodus out of those liberal states.
But hold on, Texas recently gained in the last census, Texas gained 10 million people, mostly Black and Latino. And they got was it two added? 2 and 10 million? How is that fair?
California lost 1, New York lost 1 or 2. Because
how is that fair in Texas with 10 million Black and Latino folks, and they only get 2 more? Come on.
I mean, but Texas also dismantled I think Texas dismantled a bunch of its majority Black voting districts.
Yeah.
So there are no longer any Black voting districts in Texas.
Yeah, they
before we
and here's the thing, DJ. I really hate the idea of people moving from blue states to red states. People don't move between different states because they're because of their economic, because of their voter affiliation. They move to different states because of their economics. Now you could
and policies.
That's
like crime. Go ahead, brother. Speak.
Economics are policies. What you're seeing now with people moving from California to Texas, it's not about. I mean, there are some who are going to pick up and move because I don't know how they run things in this blue state. But what you're seeing most of the time is that people are migrating between states. because at least in the case of California, the cost of living is too damn high. And it's got nothing to, and it's got nothing before you start. It is not taxes. It is not taxes that is driving people out of California. It is the fact that California, to protect home ownership, has made it very difficult to build new houses.
They just
Not
driving
that it just hasn't been
rolling blackouts, bruh. Rolling blackouts.
I mean, if you wanna bring up that, then let's talk about the fact that the privatized electric grid in Texas just let people die in the cold. Okay, like I'm sorry, but your arguments have counters, and my counters are better because I've got a whole lot of time to do nothing but watch the fucking news.
Of Todd's itinerary, because we're just talking about the first thing. I want to hear about other stuff.
I think you need to reel it in.
All right. You know,
I'm gonna stop. See, I told you this was gonna happen.
It's okay. We're having fun. Todd, rolling itinerary number 2.
I think we've exhausted this topic enough. I think we've had enough fun with it, man.
We didn't even talk about Sidney Poitier.
We ain't talked about him yet. We haven't talked about him yet, though. I know, Sidney Poitier, seriously. So the other thing I was thinking about is a few weeks ago, I went to Dunkin' Donuts, you know, and I'm in line. There's this dude waiting in front of me. I think I might have told a few this story happened to me. So I'm waiting in line, this dude in front of me. He ain't got no mask on. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, whatever. You go to the register, the person at the register is like, look, you need to wear a mask. He tries to make a deal. Look, I want tomorrow. She said, no, you can't wear a mask. He gets lippy and gets attitude. You ain't making no money. I'm making money. You don't know about making money. Get hold of the manager. Manager comes out and says the same thing. He goes on off the ranch talking about how he you know, it's his freedom and blah, 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 blah. But you ain't got no money and what you call it. And he left eventually. But it got me thinking that, like, you know, I think one of the things that I'm trying to question, do you think that America has too much individual freedom at the cost of collective responsibility?
Big yeah.
Now, my the statement is like, you know, it's like people value their freedom in America. It's like, I gotta have mine, live free or die hard, don't tread on me. I've got to have everything my way, and it's me. At what point does your freedom end, and when does cultural responsibility fall? Is that the possible downfall of our country? Are we so invested in individual freedom and we don't think about others? You know, you think about I use that mask situation. Okay. The same situation. I told a guy, I was like, look, man, you go on the street, there's a Dunkin' Donuts on the street. You can go there and you can go and not wear a mask and go drive through. But no, he wants to go and not wear a mask and just go through with it. And it's like, you know, I think sometimes in this country, I think if people had a disease where they didn't wear a mask and they spoke acid, would show out their mouths and burn people up, there'd be people who wouldn't care. They're so invested in their own freedom. They don't care about others, you know, and is that, it feels to me, and I'm giving my sort of point in that it's an issue I think that our country seems to have. We value individual freedom so much that we don't consider collective freedom. You look at, you know, as much as you talk about how China is and other countries, the Asian countries, you know what? You don't hear about them having these lockdowns with COVID.
They have different problems.
They do. But it seems like it's a different approach to the freedom, and it's more of a collective thought about responsibility as opposed to just
that might be the effect of capitalism, right? That could just be a byproduct of capitalism. And I think maybe me and Sean was talking about this years ago, that there's no moral or compass or whatever you call it to. I forgot the exact words you used, Sean. To
moral base,
no moral base to capital, right? And I think that might be part of it, right? Everybody's for themselves to a certain extent as far as money's concerned. Get as much money as you can. Those type of. I think that kind of leads to it.
So do you think that? I mean, I'm of the belief where I think that could essentially be the downfall of this country. I really think you look at large modern societies, they have this sort of chink in the armor, which causes them to fall. I think our obsessive need to be, I gotta have my freedom. I gotta have 40 guns, not just one. I gotta have 40 guns in a gun locker, and I gotta be able to do what I want to do.
Everything I was going
you know,
to bring up
it's. Go ahead. Go. We said.
I agree, Todd.
It's honest to God, it's enough to make me cry. It's the saddest thing I kept realizing, because like I said, a lot of times my glass is half full, but the more I debated and I discussed with people, I realized it's not their fundamental first belief on the country is, I have all these freedoms. I have all this, all for me. I can take everything from this country, from other people. I owe nothing to anyone. Everything is in service to me, which is kind of why when we talk about these mass shootings where other people's children are dying, or this pandemic where other people are dying, it's not about them. It's about me. I've even talked before about how, in regards to certain issues regarding a Black person's history with slavery, the thing I kept noticing from a lot of people was they were talking about how it affected them personally, not us collectively. When you come at things from the perspective that you're taking every single thing that happened to you personally, you only identify with yourself, which is a very good mindset to justify doing fuck all to everyone else. It's not about how many of their kids die. I better not be inconvenienced. I don't give a fuck if you get COVID. I better not get it. And I'm like, we're all in this country together. The downfall of this country is going to be this, taking this American idea of all these freedoms, all these rights, applying it so much on the personal level that you don't give a fuck about the next person over, like you believe you're on some fucking island. You're a country in and of yourself. The problem is we formed as a country by everyone collectively giving up freedoms, pulling in resources to help out everyone.
That is a beautiful story about America. I don't think that's ever been what we are. I think
ideal. Yeah.
That is an idealized myth of America, and that is a beautiful myth. But
no, Mike, go ahead.
I don't think us it being all in this together has ever really been what we are.
And I guess how we should be, but
I mean, yeah, it is how we should be.
Sean and Les, actually, about the moral base. I mean, if we had that, I think things would be different now. Morally, we would be obligated to do what we needed to do to help get past this. You know what I mean? But if we're only like, I guess if we look at it at a capitalist level, or we just trying to do what we trying to do for ourselves, like.
Right.
Yo, if I wear this mask, I'm gonna. If we all wear this mask, we not in the 15th variant of this crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and I mean, it's interesting thought. You know, I was watching. They had local news, and they were talking about like how in this town they started mask mandates again, and they were interviewing people how they felt about it. They interviewed one woman who owns a CrossFit studio. I forget exactly what she is, but she's a fitness trainer. And her thing was, you know, not my individual freedom. I should be able to do what I want to do, and it's like, you know, and part of me understood her motivation. You know, I have a CrossFit studio and I need people to be there. You know, that's part of my business. I get that. But it's like, at what point do you think about the greater good of society? You know what I mean? The greater good of the collective community that you're part of. People don't consider that. I mean, it really, you know, they really don't these days.
I definitely understand the moral obligation that we should have. It went back when we had these major viruses that we all are fortunate to have gotten shots for that don't affect us. Other countries do not have. But you know what bothers me, don't get me wrong, what it comes down to, we're a constitutional republic. The United States is a constitutional republic. We talk about, we alluded to the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment protects all the other amendments if we're of the Constitution.
Actually, the First Amendment The Second Amendment. The Second Amendment only empowers white people to pick up guns to fight other white people, and for us sometimes, depending on how violent we get.
White people, bro. There's a lot of black people with guns, bro.
Oh, I know. I'm in the process of getting a license too. I'm talking about I'm talking about I'm talking about this in the abstract. Like all of the Second Amendment is not obviously it's second. It's not the primary amendment. It's the second one, right? And I think the history of America has shown that we have placed far too much stock in it. It just I don't want to take people's guns away, but I really do think we need to really evaluate what our relationship is with the Second Amendment and by extension the guns. Like we really do. Because when that amendment was written, it was written again much in the way that Aaron started this whole story the section off with an idealized version of vision of America. The Second Amendment is primarily about the idea that instead of having a standing army, the men of America could be rallied together to form a militia. It's why it has a whole condition on it. It's why it had in order to maintain state militias, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, but in order to maintain state militias, the right of the right to bear arms should not be infringed. It doesn't mean and that understanding, that legal understanding is if you're going to be in a militia, if you're going to have a gun, you also need to be part of a well-regulated militia. That was the understanding for I don't want to say centuries, but definitely decades. And then that changed. And I think a lot of that changed with our changing and evolving relationship to the gun. And I know this is off topic because we were really talking about, what is America and our collective responsibility, but I can tie that back, right? The idea that we regulate what and how guns can be part of public life, I think is a collective social responsibility that we have to evaluate with all and one another, right? You having a gun isn't simply you having a gun isn't simply I'm expressing my right to have a gun. You having a gun is very reasonably is about bringing in a weapon to public spaces that can make people uncomfortable. And more often than not, we, and I mean this as black men, have not benefited well from the existence of the Second Amendment. Because us having guns is generally viewed as being dangerous, to the point where we are assumed to have guns when we don't. I agree. Like everything with America, we have to sit there and acknowledge that the laws are. Aaron, put that down. We have to admit that we have to recognize that the laws as they are written are not written with us in mind. Okay. Now we get to claim that because we've been here as long as anybody else. But
I only have one retort to Mike. They should be, but in practice.
Well, I was right. Well, Aaron, you and I are on the same page, and I was going to say that. But
I'll give you an example. I'll give an example of what Mike was saying. For me, I recently got my my gun license, but also in Virginia, if you get a concealed carry, it's a gun license / concealed carry permit. And in order for me to get a concealed carry permit, it's attached to my license, which I was really nervous about, because if I get pulled over and my license gets ran, it says that I have a concealed carry permit. So immediately state trooper is looking at me like he has a gun, or he thinks I have a gun. You know what I mean? So his reaction could vary. So that made
That's
me
how
really
Philando
nervous.
Castile died.
And
What'd you say?
that happens. That happens. That happens.
Yep.
But you know what?
Yeah.
When I get pulled over, the first thing I tell them is, officer, I have a weapon in the vehicle and I have a permit to carry. First thing I say. Now, Mike, so are you saying that there should not be a Second Amendment, that there should not, that there should be gun reform
I
where
think
the
he's just
regular
saying
citizen,
more
normal
reform and
citizen
more
should
of a
not have
re-examination
a
on what these things
weapon?
mean. The idea
Aaron,
that-
let the guy finish.
uh,
I am not saying that. Again, I am not one of those take everybody's guns away people. I do believe that if you feel that you need to have a gun, then for again, usually it's for self-defense or even for hunting, you know, you can have those things.
Okay.
It's not my personal form of entertainment, but also
I can respect that.
there are all kinds of things that people do that I do that other people wouldn't find fun. I do think that we need to make a real and honest evaluation of what counts as a weapon required for self-defense.
Mhm.
You can have a pistol, you can have, you know, a rifle, but and unfortunately, because of how rifles are designated, there is functionally very little difference between a specific class of hunting rifle and an AR-15. But we both know that while they both classify as rifles, they do two very different things.
Depends on the length of the barrel.
Right, and the general power of the gun and the firing mechanism, but they're still classified as rifles. Well, to which I would say that maybe we need more gun classifications. But
Hold on.
yeah,
we need to go back to what Todd originally started with the mask and all that stuff. And what I was going to say about the mask is that mask, we forget too, with wearing a mask. Masks has been politicized. Masks were politicized wearing one from the beginning. So that adds to the whole what we're talking about with freedoms. Like you know what I mean? Like, oh well, I was told not to wear a mask, or I don't need to wear a mask because it's, you know what I mean? If it wasn't politicized initially, I don't think it would be as big an issue.
Right. It's the same with the vaccine. I actually hope that
has changed.
I'm sorry.
What'd you say?
I said the regulations regarding masks. Fauci has changed up from not wearing a mask to wearing a mask to double wearing one to
right. And we can talk about that. I was going to draw this back to the 1917 flu pandemic, where we had the same problem. Where even at that point, wearing a mask was the Spanish flu, which apparently was from Kansas, but it's not important. Wearing a mask was also suggested then, and we actually had the same. We also had the same sort of resistance. Hey, you know, I don't want to wear a mask because, and then there are a myriad of reasons. To your point about Dr. Fauci, Dr. Fauci has become a lightning rod for what is admittedly a very touchy and ever-changing subject. So yeah, he can have one opinion. So his opinion at one point in this pandemic is now being weaponized for him having a different opinion at later points in the pandemic when he has more information. I don't like wearing a mask. Like, they fog up my glasses. I was talking to a guy clearing out the snow in my neighborhood today, and that was the first comment I had when I had to go talk to him. But we do know that breathing all over people keeps from spreading diseases. And in a disease that is as easy to get, which I had and spent 18 days in the hospital for, we should be able to do these things. It's not much. I mean, and you could argue, well, like, if first they'll ask us to wear a mask, and the next time they'll ask us to, do some other increasingly arcane and
is
silly.
Always a fallacy.
Yeah, I know. Like, and it's a fallacy people use, right?
Okay.
And I think the resistance to it is a part of the resistance to the idea of the American community.
Okay.
Because our
Theologist wants to chime in.
Yeah,
What
we have
up?
the creative theologists. What say you, Mr. Ologist?
I wanted to go back to one of your points, street librarian. With the parallel between personal responsibility and like a moral obligation, and I think Sean brought up that it's that this is a capitalist society. Well, the moral obligation component to kind of check capitalism has been co-opted by the capitalists with the prosperity gospel. Like if you're pure, you're honest, then you're going to financially prosper. And if you're not, and you have sort of non-conservative values, then you're liberal, and whatever sort of comes to you. It's interesting. It's interesting that we allowed we allowed the thing that was supposed to keep capitalism in check to be co-opted by capitalism to become another component to kind of to control the population, to be another component to say that you're not as good, you're not as valid, but if you do these things by these leaders, then you will be accepted. I do got to
Right.
I do got to kind of I don't think America's a republic, DJ. It's an oligarchy. It's a
republic.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we have a constitution. They don't make it a republic. We have a representational government where every man and woman doesn't get a vote necessarily. We do vote, but then our votes, we are represented by people who vote for us on the issues that determine the laws and how we live. That's the difference between an oligarchy and a republic. So it's different. Those folks can.
Republican, by being I'm sorry, brother, but as far as being a Republican, this goes back even to Roman days, and when they had the Senate and all that, where being a republic means that a society gets ran by the people. Now that may not.
No, I understand. They're similar.
It's a hybrid, because we know that we vote for people, and then our votes then go to allows based on how people voted on their popularity votes in whatever state or local or whatever.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
To an electoral vote.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we vote for people to represent us, and when we vote for them, we think that they're going to represent the values and the things that we voted for. They don't have to do that. They can vote any way that they want. They want to vote, and they do. They tell us what they want to do. They tell us what they want to tell us to get elected, and then they vote for other interests. So it's more of a I mean, I get the republic part. Yeah, we do have people do vote. We do vote people in the office, but we don't have. It's not like, what do you call it? What do they call it in California when they have referendums? When they have referendums, and then the population can vote, and then that becomes the law. America doesn't operate that way. We vote congressmen and senators into office, and then they vote for us. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
And then however they vote, it could be totally opposite of why I voted for them, but there's nothing I can do about it. I just got to suck it up and vote next year for the person.
Right. All you can do is vote for the next election and vote that person out if they didn't like Manchin.
Yeah.
Like some people may not agree, and it comes out to the next vote. But with voting have consequences.
No, but I mean, it's a balance between personal responsibility and following the laws, the social norms and rules of a society. And as societies get bigger and more complex, America's interesting that it made its mark on individual freedoms, because as
societies get bigger and more complex, usually individual freedoms become less and less.
Right. And I just and we go back to what Sean said about term limits. I don't think the quote unquote founding fathers meant for people to spend their from the age of 20 up to 80 and be in elected
I think
office.
it should be one and done. You get one chance, go back home.
I
think they need to extend the presidency.
I could say 8. I could say 3 terms for continuity's sake, because you got to get the experience. You can't come there and go to Washington D.C. where that crazy.
No, I don't think so. I think it's one and done.
Make a change in one term.
No, one and done. I think the presidency should be 6 years. You shouldn't worry about getting reelected. When you get elected president, you need to be able to do what you're going to do and move on with your life afterwards. And maybe senators need a little bit longer time. I'm not saying we keep the same time limit so that people have time to do the work that they need to do. Like congressmen, it needs to be shorter than senators. I mean, and they need to space out the elections. I'm not saying, but it's one and go home. You're not going to make a career out of this. You're not going to make yourself and everybody wealthy because you're in there from 20 to 80.
Not no 50 years. Not no 50 years.
This is kind of the other big problem with our electoral process.
No, you can name plenty of people on both parties.
By trying to set it up automatically where this or that politician has to leave over X amount of years, I think that's kind of a way to just supersede the actual issue. Most voters don't actually have a problem with this. We say we do, but we keep voting the same people in over and over again. That's us.
Well, no, but that's because this is America. We're going to go back to what Sean said about capitalism. You got to have money to run an election and win. That's how capitalism works right now in the here and now. But if it was one and done, then political parties would have to groom people. They would have to have a better.
So then it would effectively be the same system.
No. Yes and no. Yes. No. Yes and no.
Go ahead, DJ. I couldn't hear you.
I said, let's talk about special interests. If you in there and you've been a senator for 50 years, let's talk about special interests like high tech, like and all of them who with the money that they contribute, and if they contributing millions of dollars and stuff like that. If you put a limit on these people, then you don't have to worry about decisions that's being made on a federal level being manipulated by.
They're always going to find a way to manipulate. I mean, back in the day when it wasn't all of this money, employers used to tell their employees, this is how you're going to vote. And for the most part, people did. Whether you worked in the coal mines or the automobile factories, whatever. Back in the day, that's how it worked. So
no, it still is if you want to keep a job. Unions. Yeah. I'm a former union vice president, so I know.
Right. Look, all I know is even with all that accounted for, I still think it's to supersede the actual issue. Like for instance, I'll even throw myself under the bus. Rosa DeLauro is our congressperson, right? She's been in since 1992. And every time I keep thinking about like, man, we need to get her old butt out of here, I look over how she voted and I'm like, I'm extremely happy with this. Like, but that's this is not happening independent for me. That's me choosing the same person over and again. That
are you happy? Are you happy because you don't know any other possibilities? I mean, if we just keep voting the same people in, it's not that we're happy with it. It's we're afraid to change. But if it was one and done and you knew that it would have to be, think about it. If it was one and done, people might research the next person coming on
people
a
are
little
not
bit.
Going to research.
No. If
anything has been proven true in the last
but you're basing 20
years of politics.
That will require entirely too much work to have to learn about every. And people don't want to work. People want
do research.
We're not getting this type of country.
They don't do research now.
It is a reflection of how we are.
No, but the
And that
thing is, we're
sucks.
operating.
The mer-
We're operating now. The system we have is operating out of fear and ignorance, fear of
If we
fear,
change, if we
fear of the
magically,
unknown, and listening to what's the word they use? The echo chamber of what we believe
that
and not
we
doing.
willingly listen
And
to.
no. If it's one and you're gone, you know that there's going to be somebody new, and maybe politics would stop being the politics of old men and women, and
Yeah.
maybe it would
Now,
get young.
the
Maybe
one and
maybe we
done
would
thing,
have a.
one and done
Which
thing
group
I can't go
votes
with.
the most? The young people or the old people?
Old people.
People.
Ergo,
those,
we
those
have
are the ones that
old
vote.
politicians. Jordan fades back.
Yes, because no. What did I say? People vote out of fear. Old people, the older you get, the more you want
And the new generation is
consistency. No.
apathetic.
No, but
Democrats
you
become
change
Republicans and Republicans become Democrats.
What the hell is a Democrat?
No. How can I say this? There's a in the line of work that I do, they say that you really can't change anybody. If you want to change somebody, change how you interact with them, and then they have to change because you're different. So if you change the system, people will vote differently. You're seeing there's no other possibilities because people are going to they're going to continue to do even though things change. People adapt. That's what people do. And it takes time, but they do adapt.
But you can't say
So
one and
let's
done.
take the
'cause
mask
you
thing
got
just to bring
people-
it back full
No,
circle.
I'm not saying the first
DJ.
election is one and done and then everything is miraculously better. It's a process, is what I'm saying. But I'm saying you change the game. We know how the system operates now. We know how it operates now. And is it really working the way that it was designed to for the masses of people? It is not.
If it
So-
was
so-
true.
It is not.
So Alex,
Go
let me pull a scenario for you. So let's say, okay, we have one and done policy where you don't run one time and you have to, someone else to run against you. Wouldn't you think the system, those in power would learn to adjust and say, you know what? Okay, we'll just get someone else that's the same candidate as before. You just recycle different people, but with the same policies, So
No,
you're not changing the structure.
that's likely. That's
DC is a different animal. DC is a
No,
different animal.
that's
come down there one term.
that's likely to happen, but it's harder. Put it this way: it's easier to control one person over 50 to 60 years than it is to control 6 to 8.
And
Right.
Virginia is a one term for governor. Virginia is one term.
Really?
I mean, you can run again, but it's one term, and it's been
Terry
like that.
McCollum. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
So in Virginia, you can only be governor for one term, and that's it. Or you can't run again.
No, you can run again after the person
next-
who beats you
Oh.
term is up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what happened
So
with
you
Terry
can run
McCollum.
multiple times,
Isn't
but
that what
not
happened with
twice.
I like that. I like that.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting.
Hey,
I like
Leon,
that.
what was the name of this
Yeah,
other
Terry
guy?
McCullough shouldn't have ran though.
Yeah, I
but,
heard his
you know.
campaign wasn't great.
No, but
Well,
the
CRT
governor elect ran on fear. He got in on fear.
Why would you say fear?
And maybe that's the reason in the last, let's
Why
say,
would
what
you
is
say
it,
fear?
Leon, since you're in Virginia, the last 25 to, I'm going to say last 20 to 25 years, Virginia is vacillated between red and blue.
Yep. The fear, why would I say fear? Fear is
Yeah.
when your campaign is solely run on critical race theory and people who are in fear of their children hearing the truth. So when that's your sole campaign, you have everybody who normally would have voted Democrat or voted maybe against what's his name, Youngkin. Well, you know what? I don't want my child going to school feeling guilty about what our ancestors did years ago. So every freaking ad was about, we're going to change education. We're going to ban this book, or we're going to ban that. Like that was the whole, every freaking day, every freaking hour, that's all we heard here was about how he was going to reform education.
Which
And
is
how
ironic,
Terry
I'm sure
Terry
education down
McCullough
there could use
doesn't
some more
want your
funding.
doesn't want to your kids to have this education or that. Terry McCullough wants your kids to feel guilty about what their ancestors.
No, what Terry McCullough said, what he said is that parents don't have a say on what's taught through their children.
School,
That's what
yes.
messed him up.
That's what did him in.
That's what messed him up.
I didn't follow the race closely enough.
And so
Yeah,
if you're teaching that my child, even black people got up and said that they disagreed with that policy.
Okay. So
DJ, start over. You're breaking up.
So so if you to parents don't have, to a certain extent, parents don't have the right to do that. So if all the parents say, I don't want my kid to learn about Black history, like so they shouldn't teach it?
No, well, folks on this panel, some of the folks on this panel know my background. Parents had no choice in Common Core. Had no choice. It was a national movement. They taught the principle of Common Core. It basically rolled out almost simultaneously in all 50 states. And people, there were, let's see, back in the day when my kids were in school, I went through the standards for Common Core, and one of my kids was pre-K or kindergarten. In language, in English, he would have to learn 180 some more than the skills. Yeah. He would have to learn more than 180 skills. There were more skills than school days that he would have to learn and master a skill.
Exactly.
Let's talk about that rolled out, and it was the same. It was the same for math. Parents had no say in that.
They said they shut down, saying that they basically said that we are not going to teach advanced math to people of color. Come on, bro. Come on. So you think you get in college and you don't know how to do algebra?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not.
Has been an issue.
No, I'm not saying that there shouldn't. I'm not saying that there shouldn't be standards. I'm saying that the standards that they had set was what preschooler, what 5-year-old can learn a skill a day in language arts, can learn a skill a day, not learn and master. So it was too high.
It was too high. Well, what you
it was
saying?
Too high for everybody.
5-year-olds. We're talking. I'm not even talking about 5 years old. I'm talking about high school. We got how many people that we are extending to the next grade who graduate from high school? Who graduate from high school and can't even read and write, bruh. Come on now.
Left behind,
now
George Bush.
I will agree. Terry McCullough saying that soundbite.
No, the soundbite is what killed him. But I'm saying that
the soundbite.
I'm not saying that the soundbite wasn't true.
What? I mean, did our parents? I mean, my parents didn't have any say of what I was being taught in school. Did any of y'all?
No, not at all. And what I'm saying is, I don't have any say. I don't have any say or little say in what my kids are being taught. The curriculum's the curriculum. Exactly. I can go to board. I can go to board meetings. I can argue against it. They still gonna do whatever the heck they want to do.
And one of the biggest issues with the CRT things was some of the curriculum and literature that they were teaching.
CRT was taught in law school. CRT, critical race theory. Critical race theory is taught in law school. In higher level ed. It's not taught in high school. It's not taught in elementary school. It's not taught in middle school. So that argument is not valid.
I literally was in a comment thread with some of my friends. DJ, I want you to know this because this one infuriated me.
We're talking college. So what y'all saying? So what y'all saying that there is not literature put out to our elementary and high school, and let's just go with elementary, that talks about transgender sex and all that.
DJ,
Is that
I'm
a
gonna
point?
say
I'm not. Wait, hold on.
I'm not saying that. No, no, I'm not saying that.
So
it's
so
not
did-
racist.
so what does that
Okay,
have?
Mike.
I
No, no,
do
let Mike
want-
handle this.
I-
Everybody stop. Everybody stop.
Everybody,
Mike,
Okay. Okay.
So let
Okay.
Mike, you go
Wait,
first.
we
You go,
can't
Mike.
go there.
No.
Let Mike go.
Y'all, we're jumping all over the place.
Is that a teacher job? Is that a parent job or a teacher job?
What?
As far as teaching you raising your child, because there have been documented that there are teachers who are reaching out to people and trying to tell them how to identify themselves. There are literature out there.
No, they're not. My guy. No, I'm not gonna let you finish because what you're saying is bullshit. And I'm sorry. Like what you're saying is not. What you're saying is not true. Okay. And I'm going to say that as a member of the as a member of the Alphabet Mafia, I'm going to tell you that the argument you are making is not true. No one is telling kids to. You know what?
Go.
All right, please go.
All right, well, let's take the question back.
No one is telling kids to be transgender. No one is telling kids to be gay because you can't make someone be something that they are not. What you can do is give children the context to understand things that are going on in their minds. And here's the thing. And
that's a parent's job. That's a parent's job.
Well, you know what? But if the parent ain't doing it, but if the parent isn't doing it, somebody's got to. Okay, like not telling your kids that gay people exist doesn't negate the fact that your kid might be gay. Okay, like you don't get the choice to tell some gay child or some that potentially transgender child that what you're feeling isn't real because it is real. Because it is real. You may not understand it, but it is real. And children deserve to be told this is what's happening with you. And if you as a parent aren't doing it, somebody's got to.
I think let's get back to the critical race theory because that was a side. No, hold on. Hold on a second.
I'll just go. Go ahead.
No, DJ said that he made the point that they're bringing up like theories of race and class, and conservatives are linking that to critical race theory. It's not part of the critical race theory. Conservatives are linking it to it. Yes. But because they talk about slavery, does that if they bring up slavery in elementary school and middle school and high school, is that critical race theory? No, it's part of history. Critical race theory is
history. I agree with you. History, I have no problem with history.
Critical race theory is analysis of Black people's experience in the Americas as slaves.
Of the critical race theory.
No, critical race theory is a complete theory. Like, no. Listen. It's probably developmentally impossible to teach critical race theory to a kid in elementary school.
Yeah,
it's impossible. They don't have the capacity.
But is it being done? Is it being done?
No,
it's no.
It's not. Like here's okay. You know what? I understand that you're activated. That you were activated on this particular issue of critical race theory, but you are being activated by a thing that isn't happening, and unfortunately, you are being activated by a thing that isn't happening. I will say this.
DJ explain. Like, let's go through his point by point. DJ, the floor is yours. Continue.
So you're telling me that there are not books that have been put in the curriculum?
Oh wait,
are you telling me?
No.
Do you have an example of a book? Because
DJ, can you give me an example?
Hold on a second. A colleague of mine, she brought a book to work one day that her child he had been assigned to read, and it was all about suicide. So are you saying that schools are teaching about suicide now? She didn't want her. She didn't. No. She no. She didn't. She didn't want her son to. She didn't want her son to read it. So let's say that that it's we're not arguing. She didn't go to the board and say, I don't want this eugenics program in my school. Just because a certain topic is discussed at in middle school, elementary school, and high school doesn't make it part of some greater theory. It just means that that greater theory encompasses a broad thing, especially at the law school and the higher education collegiate level. It has to accomplish a broad umbrella. So if those smaller topics are taught in a curriculum, not critical race theory curriculum, a part of a school curriculum, they don't automatically get absorbed into critical race theory. It doesn't happen. And
Listen,
that's what
I am all down for everybody knowing the history, good and bad, about this country.
No, it's not. It's not about no. It's not about everybody knowing their history. It's about people in America knowing everybody else. We are a melting pot. There's folks from all around the world in this country. So to know about our history, we should be knowledgeable about everybody else's history that's in this country. Our history has been pushed aside, thrown in the corner, not to be studied. We bring up slavery, we bring up Martin Luther King, the end.
I have a good anecdote to piggyback with that.
I have no problem with that.
DJ, then I want you to really hear me on this one. One of the things that have happened in regard to this is many aspects of African-American history was taken out of the school curriculum books, mostly because those school curriculum books were made in the South, specifically in states like Texas.
I agree with you.
Yes, I'm just explaining. I understand how we got into this critical race theory vote because the school books covered places in Texas, Alabama, Georgia. Like it was cheaper for the manufacturers to make one book for region. Texas didn't want to buy the books that covered things like what happened in Tulsa, what happened in Oklahoma, all the various things that are very instrumental to all of our histories. They took that out of the books, and the manufacturers of these books sold those books widely throughout the South, the Texas version, because it was cheaper. So over time, the things that were common knowledge and ologist generation and street librarians generation, I don't know how old you are, your generation, there's a whole generation of kids who grew up with none of this knowledge.
Right.
Over time, the only people that did discuss it was academics in college. I just finished my, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say to link it back to like morality checking capitalism. The way that the textbook industry goes, because Texas has a large student population, as Abstract was saying, they had a lot of buying power. They flexed their buying power to manipulate the textbook industry so that any book that Texas didn't want approved for K through 12 curriculum really didn't make it. So what Texas wanted became the national curriculum or textbooks for most of the country, except for those small pockets that found other books and other publishers who would publish things that they wanted for their student.
And
let's go. Wait. Let's go to the history of Texas and slavery.
I'm trying to segue your point into mine.
Wait. No, hold on a second. Let's go to the history of Texas. We all know that Juneteenth just got ratified as a holiday. What is Juneteenth? Black folks in Texas worked 2 extra years as slaves after the Emancipation Proclamation. So, and you can't tell me that this stuff doesn't matter. That's what the 1619 Project is talking about, and which is a part of the critical race theory curriculum, which is talking about how to see the historical effects.
I got to take this back from you. I got to finish my point.
Go ahead.
The reason you have academics like the one that came up with the 1619 Project, which I don't fully agree with, the reason you have that is generations of getting older and not being able to hear our history, a certain type of thought process developed in colleges where it could be taught. And when it finally got exposed, say, to a wider mainstream audience, this is after years and generations of just not seeing their history talked about. This is what led into critical race theory as it was taught in colleges. But now that it's getting national attention, they're now trying to say what's being taught in colleges, which people your age, ologist age, us older than like 50 and 40 or whatever, what we're discussing is now they're trying to say it's taught to elementary kids. It isn't. I'll be honest, because I'm saying
No,
this because I'm 31.
Yeah.
Here's what I actually learned in regard to critical race theory before I got my degree. In school, we talked about how Black people were not allowed access to the GI Bill, how mortgage rates for Blacks were higher. My parents, their parents, the fact that systematically they just did not get the same access as everybody else. I knew privately that my grandmother's brothers were in the Tuskegee experiments. I never talked about that in high school. I never talked about that in elementary school. I did talk about it 6 months ago to get my bachelor's degree. College. None of that.
I didn't learn that. I didn't learn about the Tuskegee until college.
Ding, ding, ding. That's critical race theory.
Right. But do you feel that other elements of society have hijacked 1619?
I'm sorry, DJ, I don't understand what you mean. Can you say it again, please?
Well, because
no.
Because it's not just about race. It's not just about race.
Can I step in?
Hold up.
Take one more point before I pass it off
everybody,
to you,
I can never finish my thought.
Wait. Let DJ finish. Go ahead, DJ. Go ahead.
Go ahead, man. Finish.
So, all right, and I understand that I have no problem with that, brother. Abstract. I understand, bro, and I'm all with you. I'm down with that. I think everybody need to know that. However, now there are other under critical race theory. I don't know who decided to throw things under, but bro, am I the only one that have watched the news and realized that parents have brought their books home from that their children are studying that talks about gender identity and stuff like that? That's not a teacher's job.
This stuff isn't critical race theory and is a separate.
Wait, hold up. You don't think that there were homosexual
I need
folks
to finish my point and then I will
back in the day?
I promise you.
The founders of the country, they were there.
Let Aaron.
Let me finish.
They've been around forever.
Function of them labeling everything as critical race theory is if it's Black, if it's about race, if it makes them feel uncomfortable, if it doesn't gel with this colorblind world where Black people had equal treatment nonstop, they will label it critical race theory just to avoid teaching it. They just removed from Texas's laws, again, going back to Texas, you no longer have to teach about Martin Luther King. It used to be a requirement. It isn't anymore. Our George Washington, our Susan B. Anthony, and the anti-critical race theory bill. And here's the thing: they keep saying it's for this. The function of this is now you don't have to learn about it, even though you didn't have to learn about it before because it's taught in colleges. This is their way of picking what their children hear, what all of the kids hear. Anything that didn't fit into their narrative of no, we were good. We treated them equally. We treated everyone the same. They keep labeling it CRT so they don't have to teach it.
Right.
It's nefarious.
So do you think
it's
sexual
terrible.
identity? Do you think sexual identity and
that's a separate discussion
and
from
stuff
CRT,
should be included in critical race theory?
It has nothing to do with critical race theory. That if you're going to talk about sexual identity, it would more likely be queer theory, but it definitely isn't. It's not critical race theory. I mean,
am I the only one? Do y'all agree with him? Or do y'all agree with him?
Yes.
Or is it included?
Yes, we agree with him.
Is it included?
It's not included, right?
No,
because sexuality is not itself inherently linked to race. Now, what I want to do, and I will do my best not to yell at you, and I apologize.
Academics do not include that under critical race theory. That's what y'all telling me.
Correct.
Yeah.
They don't.
It's
a different theory.
Yes, they do, bro. Yes, they do. What they put it up?
Brother, I'm writing a dissertation.
I can send you some of my school books that
critical
CRT.
queer theory is a different theory entirely.
I understand what it's supposed to mean. Just like I know what Black Lives Matter is supposed to mean.
Okay,
but that's a separate issue.
You know what? I'm glad you said it, but you know what? Do you see how like people are using it, changing it to make it about something that they don't like, as opposed to just talk about what it is? My problem is critical race theory it has its need. It's a very fundamental thing in terms of legal theory, but it's so nebulous that it gets used. That it gets, I agree with. But it gets used. The function of banning it's being used by so many groups.
People hijack it. People hijack the movement, and bring their own things into it.
Who's hijacking it? Who's hijacking it?
But who's hijacking it? And what's the reason for hijacking it?
Which groups? I want to hear.
People,
No, which groups?
Who's hijacking it?
Whatever group. We all know.
Not whatever. Give me some names.
Hold on. Okay. You gonna let me talk?
Let him talk. Let him talk.
Finish my thought.
Let him talk.
Once.
People passionate. That's all.
Whoever, we all know what critical race theory in the teaching of history, the bad and the good. That was the premise under critical race theory. Other segments of society has decided to jump on critical race theory, and that's where the issue is. Much like allow me to make the
DJ, you're breaking up.
Unarmed people getting killed like black.
He's starting to break up, DJ.
You gotta repeat everything you just said.
You gotta repeat that, man. You're breaking up, man. You're breaking up.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, don't move. Stay right there.
Yeah. That's good.
Yep.
So critical race theory. I agree with everything you said. 1619 and everything. The knowing the history of Black America and stuff. That there's a need to have that in the curriculum, the good and the bad of America. Certain elements of society choose when there's a movement, when there's a popular movement, they hijack it and they throw their things onto that, much like Black Lives Matter. And I'm a firm believer in Black Lives Matter, the higher where as far as unarmed Black people or people of color being shot by police officer. I do not agree with Black Lives Matter who choose to not protest peacefully and destroy our community.
Wait, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let me talk for a second. Let's go historical instead. We brought up Martin Luther King and how it's been written out of the textbooks. So when Martin Luther King was leading the movement for equality, it was thrown out that he was a communist, he was a womanizer. Those things ideas got co-opted by special interest groups. But how can I say it? As a collective, we did not fall for it. We did not fall for it. But as a collective now with social media and mass media, people are more susceptible. His movement could have easily been derailed if folks would have bought into the idea that he's a communist, he's this, he's that, he wants to bring in socialism, blah, 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 when all he wanted was equality. So the fact that groups are going to co-opt, the fact that outside groups are going to co-opt ideas and try to taint and twist them to their own agenda, that's just called life. That's just called life.
And what? Hold on.
Really good point.
Since you said, wait. So you don't have an issue. You have an issue with Black Lives Matter destroying items. How do you know that? That's are you linking that to all of Black Lives Matter?
No. Uppercase BLM. The initial premise of what it stood for when it started, as far as people we having to protest because too many of our brothers and sisters, unarmed brothers and sisters, were getting killed by cops. I believe in that. I do not believe in people rioting and destroying our communities, destroying our
that's not Black
CVS,
Lives Matter.
Walmarts. Wait,
That's
bro,
not
let
Black
me
Lives
finish.
Matter.
Let me finish. Wait a minute, bro. People are out there saying Black Lives Matter.
But they can say it.
So
but that
how do
doesn't
you
mean that
different-
it's
how do you
Black Lives Matter. That doesn't
differentiate?
mean it's
Because they-
sanctioned by
wait a
Black
minute,
Lives
Wait a
Matter.
minute, bro.
Wait, let's go
I'll
to
let
stop
y'all-
this.
I'll let y'all
Let's
talk.
go to stop the
I'll let
steal for
y'all
people
talk.
destroying property, January 6th.
And listen,
Where are you on that?
This is
I'll
gonna
let y'all
quickly
talk.
become a
I'll
mess,
let
and I
y'all
can
talk.
just
I'll let
tell.
y'all talk, bro.
I feel like
I
it'd be better
listen to
to
what
just go
y'all
to the
got to
third
say.
big
Go
point.
ahead. Go ahead.
Let him talk. Let him talk.
Go
let him
ahead,
talk.
DJ.
I always let y'all hear what I gotta say. I can
Yeah,
never
go ahead,
finish
man.
my thought.
The floor is yours, man. Please.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Okay. So are y'all telling me that when the sun go down after peaceful protesting, what we went through in 2020, 520 riots throughout the United States, you're telling me our communities, Black owned, Black livelihood matters
that was
too?
us. I just
Okay, can I
I'm
finish?
never a big
Can I
fan of
finish,
like when it
please?
got nuts like that.
So let
Truth
him
be
finish,
told,
Aaron. Let him finish.
Let him finish,
Alright.
Aaron.
So Black livelihoods matter too. Where because these people, after the sun went down, they were wearing. I've seen, and all of you seen it too. When you get, if you saying you don't see it, you lying. I've seen Black Lives Matter flags. I've seen Black Lives Matter shirts. I've seen people yelling Black Lives Matter. I see people going into our communities, burning down Black businesses. The CVS, the Walgreens. Now grandma got to travel 10 miles down the road to get her medicine. I do not agree with that. Black Lives Matter. I agree with the initial premise. And so somebody, whether it was Antifa or that radical, violent Black Lives Matter, hijacked the initial premise. And so going back to, I saying with the critical race theory, based on what you teaching the history, good or bad, I agree with you. But we allow when there's a popular movement, we allow other people to piggyback on that movement and put their stuff. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, there's
talking
some
about how
truth
people
to what you're
go on
saying.
movements, do whatever the fuck
I
they
would agree
want.
with that.
Kind of like how there were Black Lives Matter protesters generally wanted to fight for the issue. Then there were the other people saying like Black Lives Matter and then burning, looting, and destroying shit. Opportunists, if you will. Because that happens a lot.
I mean, I don't know if you can hold all of Black Lives Matter responsible for all the rioting. You know,
No, I didn't say that.
That's my point.
You know,
that's my point.
It's my let me finish. So my one issue, I theoretically, like you, DG, I agree with the premise of Black Lives Matter, but I think what my issue I have with Black Lives Matter is that it differs from, say, like SCLC or the groups from the '60s, or even the Black Panthers.
Right.
They had a focal point. They were a leader. They were a leader mission. They had a leader that sort of set. They had a structure that helped things. They were organized. Right. Exactly. Whereas Black Lives Matter is just it's almost anyone can be. I could pull on the shirt Black Lives Matter in all land.
Right.
There's no standards.
Okay.
Anyone can be part of it.
Let me ask this. So, based on your premise of what you're saying about Black Lives Matter,
anonymous.
and attaching,
I'm also one of them. Wait, no, I'm not.
Hold up, Aaron. Hold up, Aaron. So, based on your premise of attaching what happened with the riots and everything, you're attaching it to Black Lives Matter, based on what you said, correct? That's what you said, right?
Based on.
Okay. So, based on that, can I say that every single, regardless of whether they were at the Capitol or not, every Trump supporter supported what happened at the Capitol? Based on what you just said.
That's not true.
And I did not say that. I know what we are about to do. We should stop before we do this.
You're taking me out of context.
That's why I asked you first. So you.
I know
that's
what
why
we're
I
about
asked
to
you
do.
first.
We should
so
stop
you
right
could,
now, guys.
Before I made my point.
And I'm going to give you a prime example. And this happened, and we can go back to the Black Panthers and everything if you're old enough to remember. Patrice Cullors. Anybody know who she is?
No.
Do anybody know
No.
who
Be
Patrice
honest,
Cullors
no.
is?
No.
Y'all don't know who the founders of the Black Lives Matter? Y'all don't know who they are?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
women.
yeah.
Okay. Tell me this. And does she consider herself a Marxist socialist?
Honestly, I have no idea what she
neither.
says. And again, I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. I think my issue with Black
Answer it
Lives
for me.
Matter is that it's a leaderless organization. It's like anonymous. It has no structure to it.
That's why
And I think
said go
that's
with
his
the initial premise.
that's his
Go
blessing
ahead.
and that's his curse.
Okay, that's why I said go with the initial premise. But yes, she does. There's 3 women who are known as the founders of Black Lives Matter. They study Marxists. They are self-proclaimed. If you went to the website, they are socialists. Now, does anybody know where Patrice Cullors is now and how much property she owns? And where she own her property?
I've heard this before. I've heard this.
I heard it
yeah.
too.
I've heard it too.
Yeah,
No, you know what?
Again,
You know what?
I'm not
to funnel money.
No.
Let him finish. Go ahead, DJ. Go ahead, finish.
So y'all don't have a problem with this person who started out. And understand, when you have these type of movements, you get people who fund these movements or people that make donations. Last I heard.
So you're arguing that she used the Black Lives Matter money to buy a bunch of houses, right? That's where you.
I finished my thought.
What were you about to say, Rod?
Can I finish my thought?
No, go ahead, DJ.
No,
I'm sorry.
Can I
DJ.
finish mine?
Yeah, go ahead, DJ.
Last I heard, she bought $1 million property in Hollywood and Bahamas next to Tiger Woods. So y'all tell me, is she really about the shit?
Can you are you arguing that she used money from Black Lives Matter to buy those properties?
Hold on, let me make my point, because that point, after I make my point, I think that point becomes irrelevant or less.
Go ahead.
So, like Todd was saying about it's not organized like LCLC and other the Southern Leadership Coalition. If you take the NAACP, you can go to any chapter of the NAACP in any urban area. They have a president. There is a formal structure. That formal structure reports to the national structures. These 3 people may have started Black Lives Matter. I can start a Black Lives Matter chapter in my town tomorrow that's not associated with any other one. That's what Todd is talking about. The fact that she's made money, so what? It's not like the president of the NAACP stealing money and then buying homes of the money that he's liquidated from all the urban areas, or she has liquidated from all the urban organizations from the different cities. That's different.
Also, if the work gets done and has the good benefit
Well, no,
of people and other Americans.
No, but my Black Lives Matter
2 years ago,
very different from the next town's Black Lives Matter movement.
This DJ, the problem is it feels more like an ad hominem attack as opposed to attacking the issue. I don't.
Okay. I guess I'm going back to my original question. Regardless of what you attached, what you attached the violence and what goes on with Black Lives Matter after dark. You attach that to Black Lives Matter. And you don't know for sure that all of these people that are doing this are Black Lives Matter. Like Todd said, you can put on a shirt that says Black Lives Matter and go out and do it. Hold on, let me finish.
You can't say they're not.
What?
I actually agree with DJ.
You can't say they're not. So you're saying after dark, those people were not Black Lives Matter participants.
January 6th,
that participated in the
so again, what you're saying?
That's a separate
what's the difference between? You say there was. What is the difference between? So I can you're associating that with Black Lives Matter. I can associate what happened at the Capitol with Trump supporters. What's the difference?
Leon, I understand where a lot of us are coming from with this. Here is the issue. X being wrong doesn't make Y right. what
No, we're not talking. We're not talking about that.
No. I just want to know what from DJ's
Aaron,
the difference.
Aaron, people are saying you're using one logic to define one situation. The exact same logic is the same in another situation, but you're perceiving that differently. That's what we're saying.
I'm saying anytime it comes to actually criticizing a movement we like, because I've seen Trump supporters do this shit nonstop, and I know for a fact we do this shit nonstop. We instantly be like, but what about what you guys did? No, it's okay. What DJ's actually saying is just fine. There were general people who generally give a fuck about black people who went out there to protest actual issues, because let's not forget, motherfuckers died who should not have died. There were people in those movements who co-opted those movements to destroy shit. That happened. They did it in the name of Black Lives Matter. Some of them are opportunists. I can basically say I'm in support of Black Lives Matter in the protest without supporting the rioters. The rioters that destroyed properties, communities, and statues and all, fuck them, and I've never been a fan of them. However, I'm not going to let the bad apples spoil the bunch, or however the fuck that term goes. DJ, you're fine. The argument, just understand
the argument that you're making is like after
the argument is blaming all of Black Lives Matter for the people who are rioting. You know,
no, wait, hold on a second. No, the argument. No, the argument is it makes it seem like after the sun went down, like Black Lives Matter sent out a email or did a phone tree and said, let's go loot and rioting, because this is what this organization is about. It wasn't like it was to use other groups' terms. Oh, it was a lone wolf, or it was just a few disparaging individuals. No, it's the whole group. It's the whole group. Because I'm not saying that on January 6th that it wasn't a mob of folks and there was specific folks there to do a specific thing, a smaller group of folks, and they used the mob as cover. I can believe that, and I can believe at Black Lives Matters rally that certain folks had certain agendas and they did what they wanted to do too. I'm not like, my logic is consistent in both scenarios. That's what I'm saying.
And there's proof that Black Lives Matter members was inside
members
the Capitol, and one of them videotaped the killing of the young woman. So listen, bruh, we can't allow media and everybody else to divide us.
Wait, hold up. You can't allow media, right? You can't allow media, but where did you get the information about the system?
Also, Black Lives Matter is now a part of the media.
The media.
Black Lives Matter is now part of the media.
Like photo, I got photo.
We are getting way off base.
You said they went in and they photographed, and you said that we can't allow the media.
I'm gonna let you finish up, Rod. I mean,
dude, what I said is that, granted, a majority of the people, and granted, there was what, maybe 20,000 people there, to 400 and stuff is arrested, or 200 to 400 entered the Capitol building. What I'm saying that, believe me, and I can send you the proof, and I think Sean already knows that there were people that have Black Lives Matter affiliations that was in there too, yelling, burn this shit down.
How do you know, Sean?
Now y'all want me to send shit to you?
Yeah. How do you know that, Sean?
How do you know, Sean?
Yeah, Sean.
How do you know that?
Sean was there.
No. It's video, brother. The guy posted this stuff.
I feel like,
you know what, DJ?
Posted this stuff. I need to bring proof. Y'all saying that there was no black.
You know what?
Do I need to show it? Do I need to send it to you?
I think you should.
Wait, hold on a second.
You know what? Wait.
DJ, couldn't that have been Antifa? Couldn't that have been Antifa in a Black Lives Matter shirt? Couldn't have been Antifa?
I think we should stop here. We're going way too far base, man.
We're going down the rabbit hole.
I think we probably need to have another session to talk
Les, if you could look at my artwork.
I love me some rabbit holes.
He videotaped it. So, and he's a known Black Lives Matter activist, and he videotaped it. He was right there.
DJ, I think out of everyone here, I'm probably the closest to your way of thinking. One person being there, no matter what their affiliation is, irrelevant. It is. My point still stands. It is okay to say you are in support of the black, which you are in support of Black Lives Matter ideas.
Yeah.
I think everyone in the group is supporting of what Black Lives Matter was trying to do, protesting the deaths of unarmed Americans, unarmed Black Americans.
Right.
That's fine. Destroying Black properties in any form of historical context or destroying shit is fucking bad no matter who does it. I can keep that entire discussion separate from my opinions on January 6th. A lot of times when Republicans do this or Democrats do this or whatever, it becomes a cheap dodge to avoid accountability. There are people we identify with, we cry over, we like, they look like us, they act like us. If I was a Trump supporter and saying this, I could say the exact same thing. Nothing is going to ever get better if we cannot criticize and rein in our own. The toughest critics on any side should be the people who represent that side.
You're right.
There were people that co-opted the protests to destroy shit because they just wanted to destroy shit. Fuck them. There were people there that were probably, I don't know, because I'm really pissed off at the January 6th thing. None of that should have happened. None of the lies should have happened. That's my segue to talk about January 6th. Now let's go.
Let's compare sentencing once they get through with sentencing for the folks that they deem committed crimes on January 6th, compare it to sentencing of folks that were at Black Lives Matter rally, and let's look at the amount of time and the
It's gonna be wildly inconsistent between both groups. No, Black Lives Matter protesters.
No.
Some that got no sentences, and vice versa for the January 6th one. It's inconsistent with most of
let's see. Trials aren't over. They're still charging folks. And they still saying they're working their way up the list. That's what I want to see. That's what I want to see.
I think we should table this for another time. This is going way out of control.
Tabled because we
got there's a lot.
And DJ, I want to say this to DJ for the record. I want to say this to DJ for the record. An organization I'm part of. They wanted to make a statement. They wanted to align themselves with BLM. And I was, how can I say it? I was not in support of it because of some of the things like me and Todd have similar thoughts of the hierarchical nature. I don't know exactly what that means. I don't know which chapter you're aligning with. And I don't know what that chapter or that group or whatever it is represents. So I was not in support of, that statement of solidarity.
I understand, bro. People
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Hijack real movements, real thorough movements, and
it wasn't a case of hijack.
I don't even think Black Lives Matter is really hijacked. I don't think there was a structure to begin with. That's why you don't know
exactly
who started it, because the problems with issues with, say, the Black Panthers and the NCLC and all these groups in the 60s is that they had these leaders that led the organizations. They had the structure, and what happened was that say with LCLC, say with Martin Luther King. So when you kill him off, it's just to me. Look at the Black Panthers.
No, but let's go a little bit deeper into that. When organizations have a hierarchy or a structure and people in power, including governments, what do? So they put informants in the Black Panther Party, SCLC, they do all of that stuff. So if people feel that BLM, if people feel that BLM is a threat to the power structure, I wonder if they would do the same. I wonder.
So just so we're clear, we know where Aaron. Where are we on the 6th? Was it wrong? Was it justified? Where are we?
It wasn't justified.
It was wrong.
It was wrong. Tell me this. It lasted how many hours?
Doesn't matter.
It was the whole day.
Quote unquote.
Let's say.
How many hours it lasted?
Wait. How many hours? It's the severity or the intensity of what the intent of what was trying to be accomplished.
Les, what you think?
When they left,
There's a difference between petty larceny and grand larceny.
Go down.
What were you saying, DJ?
What were you saying, DJ?
I think he cut out.
I mean, the protest and go down to Capitol, and they started to go into the Capitol. How many hours did the whole thing last?
What does that matter?
Yeah, what does it matter?
Yeah,
What they did.
I'll tell you what that matters. Can somebody
say that again?
So wait. When people protest, do they normally storm the buildings? Do they have a plan, especially with basically mostly unarmed police force? Is that part of a typical protest?
Do they set up counter measures? Do they set up pipe bombs nearby?
Allergis. Am I pronouncing it right? Allergis?
Yes, sir.
Allergis. Is the first time that the Capitol have been attacked in the 19th. In the 19. Are you aware of any attacks going on in the 1900s of the Capitol?
In the 1900s?
Yeah. Are you familiar with any Puerto Rican? Are you familiar with any Puerto Rican nationalists?
Yes.
Are you? And what happened? What happened?
I'm not clear. One of my coworkers just shared that with me.
Did any congressmen die?
I'm not.
Did people die
during that? They saying Kamala Harris said yesterday that this is the worst thing. She's comparing what happened that day to Pearl Harbor and 9/11. Y'all agree with us? Y'all agree with us?
It's hyperbole.
Of course not.
It's hyperbole. We don't believe that, man.
It's hyperbole.
But you can't act like nothing happened, though. You can't act like it was just nothing.
Hyperbole. How many people died? How many people died as a result?
Okay, wait, DJ.
January 6th?
DJ. Let's just stop. Look, I don't want to we don't need to recap what political folks or what analysts say. We all sat in our homes. We all saw the thing on our own TV screens.
All right. Do you agree? Can somebody answer the question? She compared it. Do anybody agree that does what happened on January 6th compare to Pearl Harbor and 9/11?
Why are we being asked to agree with a person? What do you hope to accomplish by getting us to agree or not agree with the statement made by Kamala Harris?
Because it doesn't.
Why did you say that? Why are you asking us to agree? If you're just gonna get to the argument where you say that, you just fucking say that. Like all you've done is ask a bunch of nonsensical fucking questions where then bitch that you can't finish a fucking statement.
Conservative here. I'm not token conservative.
All right.
And I expect you to be mad at me. I expect you to say something. So appreciate that I'm not token conservative. I'm
Sean, where are you? Where are you?
Right here. I'm here.
Where
so
are
what
you?
Do you know, Sean? What do you know? You seem to have some secret knowledge. Tell us secret knowledge you have, Sean.
Does it compare? Y'all don't want to answer it because it doesn't meet the narrative.
DJ knows that. You're the only my guy. Like you are acting. Well, you know what? I'll say this. First of all, what the big problem is that none of us are on the same page about what actually happened. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like, because I can only assume everything you said is this web of right-wing nonsense that you think makes sense and that you think we all understand, but we don't.
No, I'm just giving my opinion, bro. Just like y'all, I agree with
you. That's true.
So, can somebody tell me? Do y'all agree that January 6th is commensurate to what happened in Pearl Harbor, like Kamala Harris said, in 9/11?
I don't know. I think those events are too different to compare with one another.
Wait, DJ.
Everybody talking.
Hold on a second. The answer is no. A Chinese military power attacked a Navy.
Japanese.
I said Chinese. Yeah, Japanese attacked U.S. Military base.
Yeah.
This was at the U.S. Capitol, the seat of power, the seat of government on American soil, the heart of our democracy.
Okay.
Not the same.
Okay, so she should not have compared it, right?
I didn't say that she couldn't have compared it. You can compare anything.
Yeah.
What?
You just used the
That's
wrong
like you
analogy.
Compare apple and a steel beam doesn't mean it makes any sense.
Exactly.
Like,
Let's go around the table. I want to hear what everybody has to say. Does everybody go around the table? Does everybody agree that she should have compared what happened for 2 hours on January 6th?
Before we actually agree, now, what does this accomplish, DJ? Like, what does us agreeing or not agreeing with Kamala Harris accomplish?
Mike, can you mute me?
Answer the
Go
first
around the table. Go around the table.
DJ knows I don't like Kamala Harris, so it's
Kamala.
The vice president.
So okay, let's humor DJ. So what's your question?
That was a bad analogy that she used.
Yeah, I agree.
All
I
right,
agree.
anybody else? Go around the table. Go around the table. Anybody else?
Yes.
I think we all understand that is stupid. Can we move on to the point you're trying to make?
Let's just answer the question. Let's just answer the question. She shouldn't have used it.
Exactly.
Right.
I agree.
It does not compare. So I guess the majority of the might agree that what happened on January 6th does not compare to Pearl Harbor and 9/11.
No,
majority.
I actually never said that. I asked why you're asking the question.
I didn't say good. All I
okay,
asked
so we answered your question.
So
what's your it was wrong?
Okay, so have anybody? They call it an insurrection.
Yes or no?
No. Let's not go with
let him work. Let him work. Let him work.
It was wrong.
Go ahead, DJ.
You think it was wrong?
Have any of the 400 or 500 people who have been charged with insurrection?
The question was, do you think it was wrong? Not was it an insurrection?
I'm asking you.
Do you think it was wrong? Do you think it was
no,
wrong?
I agree. I agree. It was a bad day. It was a bad day. It should never happen.
No, a bad day. Was it wrong? Was it wrong? It was a bad day, but was it wrong?
It should never happen. Yes, it was wrong. It should never happen. So what I'm saying, so I'm going to ask you, have any of the people who are being held in solitary confinement, 400 people, have any of them been charged? They call it an insurrection. Have any of them been charged with insurrection?
It was an insurrection.
Who
Well,
knows?
no. Okay, wait. Hold on a second. Who called it an insurrection?
We got some historians here.
Is the media the prosecuting attorneys? Is the media an arm of the law?
We got some historians here. We got some historians here, and I'm sure that people have seen insurrections in other countries. This lasted 2 hours. Compared to what happened.
What does the time have to do with it?
What?
What does the amount of time it took to kill people have to do with it, or to storm the Capitol?
So you're saying, so what happened when they stormed the Capitol? Was some windows broke?
How about did you see the video footage of them like beating security guards and policemen? Did you see that footage?
I also see security guards letting them in, opening up the barriers and letting them in. I saw a guy with the horn.
Wait,
people getting crushed to death?
Let's stop. Why was the security force and the police, most of them didn't have their weapons, their firearms. They were told that they couldn't carry them.
Well,
Pelosi, and wait, who has that power? Who has that power?
Pelosi,
because the
Pelosi is in charge of
the
sergeant at arms. The sergeant at arms report to Pelosi.
Wait, wait, hold on. There's the DC police. Leon, you would do better with explaining how the policing in the DC area goes, because
please, Leon. So tell me,
it's very complicated.
For the Capitol, the Capitol Police is first. They come first as far as defending the Capitol.
Right.
It's the Capitol Police, and then if needed, they call the DC Police and the National Guard. So that's the order. The Capitol Police are first.
Okay. Did the DC mayor request? Did the DC mayor asked for extra support and help on that day and was refused, Leon?
Yes.
Okay.
By who? By who?
By
Leon?
who? Who refused her?
By who, Leon?
Do you know?
The president refused.
But the president ain't got nothing to do with it. The president don't make local
Really?
decisions.
Really? Really?
Look, hey, Leon, who does the sergeant at arms report to? Who does that person? Who's in charge? The ultimate authority at
I don't know.
Who's the ultimate authority?
I don't know.
The president.
You don't know? Anybody knows? Anybody
The
knows?
president.
It's the. I mean,
No, it's not the president.
other than
No, it's
the
not
president, I don't know.
Anybody knows?
Oh.
Anybody knows?
I'm Googling it right now.
Pelosi.
Go ahead, Sean.
Pelosi.
No, that's for the
Pelosi.
Capitol Police. We're talking DC. We're talking DC police. There's Capitol Police. There's two separate Capitol Police.
I
Just
agree
for
with that. I agree with that. Everybody know that. Everybody know that. Who's in charge? The sergeant of arms.
So wait, hold on a second. But the DC police were called in because of a mob of folks showed up and started.
They didn't know they were coming in advance.
Oh yeah, they did. Because that's why.
So
that's why
what's
the
the
mayor
problem? What
asked for
happened?
extra support.
Who turned them
That's
away?
why the mayor asked for extra support.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. So where
and was
all
refused.
I saw when those people was at the barriers, I didn't see no DC police. I saw Capitol Police.
Oh, they were there.
They were there.
They were there.
When I saw at the barriers, I saw Capitol Police. I didn't see. Did y'all see DC Police?
They
were there.
Were there.
Were they at the barriers of the Capitol?
Initially, no, they weren't at the barrier. Initially, no, because they didn't think they were needed. Because they didn't think people were going to storm the Capitol and try to break into it and kill people.
So what y'all saying that they had no knowledge of the amount of
we're
people
saying that the mayor requested
Can I
extra
finish?
help
Can
a
I
week
finish?
in
Can I
advance
finish?
and was denied. So they figured that something could happen, but they were denied the support and the ability to implement their plan to keep the populace.
Denied by who?
Like,
denied by who?
The president.
Oh, you're wrong. You're wrong. Show me proof. You're wrong.
Show me proof that we're not wrong.
The president ain't got nothing. The president ain't got no say so of what's going on. What security?
Are you kidding me?
He ain't got no say so over that.
Hold on.
Where the president got authority over what happens in at the Capitol. Show me where that happened. Show me.
Hey Google, who's in charge of Capitol Police?
Show me where the president is responsible for that. Your cats are already laughing. I see you smiling, Leon.
I'm in disbelief. I'm in disbelief. That's why I'm smiling.
The president got say so of security.
I'm in disbelief. I'm just not. So again, you thought it was wrong?
No. Here, I got it. Ex-Capitol Police Chief says request for National Guard was denied. She requested the National Guard. Who's in charge of the National Guard?
Who denied
Trump.
Who denied it?
They're part of the armed forces.
Who denied it?
The president. He's the commander-in-chief.
Does it say Trump denied it? It said Trump denied it.
Okay.
It said Trump denied it. No, who's reading it? Who's talking? It says Trump denied it.
Just says, but I do think that Trump would be in charge of it because he had the same option when they were doing the national. The same thing that happened when they were doing the Black Lives Matter.
Wait. Let's have a civics lesson. No. Let's have a civics lesson. So they're in DC. DC is not a state. If it was a state, then the governor would be in charge of deploying the National Guard. Am I right? So they're in DC. Oh, the president. Thank you.
Who denied it? Answer my question. Who denied it?
The president.
Which so it says Trump denied it?
The president.
Well, that what you're reading, does it say Trump denied it?
You need to really hear that Trump denied it or his people denied it. His people denying it are the same as Trump.
I know
Trump is the one who sent them there.
Does it say Trump denied it?
Who's in charge of the National Guard in Washington, D.C.?
Answer my question. I know who's in charge of the Capitol building. Did it say Trump denied it? Y'all don't know, huh? Tell the truth.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm admitting my
Y'all
ignorance.
making
I don't know.
assumptions. Everybody's saying it. It's an assumption.
So are you.
No, I'm not, because I know who's in charge.
Really?
I already told you.
So who is in charge? The person who was in charge is the one who sent them there, right?
Pelosi.
Who's in charge of the
Pelosi didn't
National
send them
Guard
to the
in
Capitol.
Washington, D.C.?
So wait, DJ, let me ask you something. So you saying that Nancy Pelosi didn't like that she was in charge and she hesitated to call National Guard to help the Capitol Police because she wanted this to look worse than it is or something? I'm trying to get your point. Where you getting?
All
right. So I just Googled.
I'm gonna go better. I'm gonna tell you.
I'm
gonna tell you. I'm gonna go better. I'm gonna tell you that there was National Guard requests for National Guard and stuff in advance prior to even the protest before the incursion into the Capitol, and it was denied, and it was requested by somebody who y'all say has the ultimate authority, and it was denied. Pelosi
right.
got a lot of power, bro.
DJ,
Go ahead, Sean.
can I read this?
Sean, do some research. Go ahead. It's Google research.
The District of Columbia Army National Guard is the Army component of the District of Columbia National Guard. As the District of Columbia is a federal district and not a state, the Guard is placed under the authority of the President of the United States.
Yep.
Unlike most other National Guards, which are headed by their state governor.
Didn't I say civics lesson?
Right. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Sean.
Okay, that's it? That's it, Sean?
The
Sean,
District of Columbia.
Sean, is that it?
I'm reading.
Okay,
the District of Columbia Army National Guard was formed in 1802. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Thomas Jefferson. It has always been led by Commanding General. And this is the only Army National Guard state-level organization activated by the President of the United States for natural and civil emergencies.
Right.
The mayor of the District of Columbia may request assistance of the National Guard for local purposes.
Y'all saying why?
Let me finish. The mayor of the District of Columbia may request assistance of the National Guard for local purposes after consulting with the president.
What she tried to do.
Okay. And so, okay. All right. After consulting with the president. All right. So listen, who's in charge of the Capitol? Look that up. Security. Who does that fall under?
Sean made the point. Thank you, Sean. My fellow CCS.
No, y'all corny, man. Y'all corny.
Listen, I'm just reading information.
Y'all corny.
Hashtag
who does
facts.
security of the Capitol?
But accurate. Corny, but accurate.
Look it up, Sean.
All right, what do you want me to ask, DJ?
Who's responsible? Who's responsible? Who's the ultimate authority responsible for the Capitol?
Who's responsible for security at the Capitol in Washington, D.C.?
Who's the ultimate authority for the Capitol?
No, we know security. Security is that.
Who's the ultimate authority for the security of the Capitol of the United States?
All right, the United States Capitol
and then there's
Police.
Capitol Police.
Capitol Police has congressional oversight by the appropriation and authorizing committees from the U.S. House of Representatives and U.S. Senate. This oversight affords the department the support and opportunity. Let's see.
House
Karen
and Senate. Y'all
Gibson,
heard that, right?
Senate Sergeant at Arms.
Of the United States. Y'all heard that, right?
It's already been proven who stopped.
Yeah, so all of this has been
proven. What's been proven?
I mean, come on,
Leon. What's been proven?
Leon, that the president stopped it.
Stop
exactly.
What?
She could have had the National Guard there.
Her request for the National Guard. I mean, it's already been proven in the trial.
6 times.
Leon,
who denied 6 times.
From what I understand, Leon, there's still an investigation going on. So what you mean it's been proven?
That
no,
is trying to
proven
be,
who's
that
in
is
charge.
not being cooperated with. That's the other thing. Why, if nothing happened and nothing was wrong with what happened on the 6th, why are so many people hesitant to testify and just prove facts? Why?
All right. You want me to expound on that, Leon?
Yeah. Because if now hold on. If I didn't do anything wrong and nothing happened, you think I would be in front of the line to tell the truth? Why are so many people not willing to testify?
To go in front of the January 6th committee. That's what you're saying, right?
And the January 6th, yes, the January 6th committee, who was asked
what does the
initially to be
January 6th
bipartisan, but they chose not to do it.
Bipartisan? Is it bipartisan, Leon?
Because they chose not to do it. That's
who
why.
chose
It was
not
initially
to do it, Leon?
all the people, they asked, please be on this committee, please be on this committee. They didn't want to do it. So it's not like
is he right? Is anybody agree with him? Everybody agree with him?
Which committee?
I'm in the Mecca, bro. It's on the news.
Committee?
I'm in the
Yeah, I
Mecca.
agree with him. I agree with him.
He said
Liz Cheney's on the committee. She's Republican.
Liz Cheney, that's about it.
He said that everybody.
I think there's one more.
He said everybody that requested to be on that committee turned it down. Everybody,
except for Liz Cheney, and there's another.
Are you kidding me? Are you being
all
literal?
you agree with him?
All right, so here's what happened. Kevin McCarthy put up a number of Republican representatives who were all
Jim Jordan, crooked,
staunchly skeptical who all basically argued against even the legitimacy of the existence of the committee.
You're right.
And so Nancy Pelosi elected not to seat them because she determined that they would not be there. They would only be there to impede the investigation.
Okay.
And here's the thing: there's a difference between opposing the investigation and looking to derail and impede it.
Mike.
So what Nancy Pelosi ended up doing was appointing two Republican representatives, members, whom she assumed would be acting in good faith. Now, again, the reason.
Stop for a second, Mike. Is that within her powers of the office that she serves?
Yeah, because she can.
It is. Because she Speaker of the House.
Hold up. Even before that, hold up, DJ. Even before that, there was a vote on the Senate side, excluding Nancy Pelosi, to hold an investigation into what happened on January 6th. And Mitch McConnell said what? Voted not to do it.
No, that's not true. Mike, tell him what happened, Mike. That's not true. Tell him what happened.
On the Senate side? I think
Romney. I think
Romney.
That's not true.
Oh, did Romney vote for that?
Hey, Sean, talk to him about Jordan, and the other guy who.
Jordan is not a senator. Jim Jordan is not a senator. He's a congressman.
All right, Leon.
Hey, Sean, tell him about Jordan and the other guy who the GOP selected. Explain to him, Sean.
Jordan.
I'm not talking about the House committee. I'm talking about the Senate voting to actually
Did Romney
vote
for it? Did Romney vote for it, Leon?
He did not. I don't think he did.
Did Mitt Romney vote for the January 6th committee in the Senate?
Hey, Leon. So if you said it's bipartisan, right?
It was supposed to be.
How many people are on the committee, Sean? Leon?
6.
Wait, hold on.
No,
but before you go there, I'm talking about before it even got to the House. When they went to the Senate
it's
first.
9.
What'd you say?
It's 9, folks. I'm looking at them.
Yeah. So Leon, you said it was bipartisan, right?
Yes, Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger.
I didn't say it was bipartisan. I said it was supposed to be.
How many are Democrats, Allegas? How many are Democrats on that committee?
7.
How many are GOP?
2.
It's 2 Democrats and 7.
That's bipartisan.
Yes. All it takes is one person.
I never said it was bipartisan.
No.
I said it was supposed to be.
All it takes is one person from the opposing party to join into anything for it to be considered bipartisan.
Right.
One person can vote for it. So that's the test.
It's not. It doesn't make logic, but I agree with you.
No, it does make logic because it means it's
It doesn't.
by both parties. All it
So-
takes is one. Both parties voted for it.
So if we was all having a vote, and all of you,
It's not majority, it's bipartisan means party. So you have
only
two
one
parties,
person-
you have
understand
two
what we said,
parties,
Leon.
and you have votes from both
according to
parties.
politics, according to Washington politics, Leon, one person on the opposing party, if they vote just like they voted in with the I think in the second impeachment, if one person vote from the other party, they consider it bipartisan. But let's talk about real bipartisanship. So
DJ.
wait a
Define
minute.
real bipartisanship. Define it. Define it.
Should there be four? Should it be four GOP?
DJ.
Not only that, but should the GOP have the right to select who they want to sit on the committee?
Wait, hold up. You can't. This ain't Fox News, bro. You can't. Flip
I don't think that
you can't flip this.
So you saying
I'm asking a question. I'm going even before the House committee. And again, I'm in the mecca of this. I hear this crap every day more than I should. They before they even got to the House committee, they had a vote on the Senate floor to vote for an investigation.
Right.
No
right.
Republicans voted
I agree.
for it.
I agree.
If it was supposed to be true, I mean, if nothing happened that was wrong, why didn't 50 of these Republicans vote for it?
Because Mitch McConnell told them
what
we want
I'm
to
asking,
move on.
I'm gonna.
That's
what
why.
I'm
No,
asking
answer
you-
the question. Hold up. Answer the question. Can you
What?
answer that question?
Okay, go ahead. What's the question again?
I asked the question. Why,
Go ahead,
if it was supposed to be all true and nothing happened, and this was why is everybody denying it? If nothing, why doesn't everybody want to face
Nobody
up
is
to it?
denying that January 6th.
Why
didn't
then why don't they want to have an investigation?
They
Why did
agreed to it.
Against it.
They agreed. Both sides
Voted
agreed to an
against it.
Not in the
investigation.
Senate. Not in the Senate.
No, they did it. No, they did not. On the Senate
What
side, they did
happened?
not.
Who is the House is the ones conducting the
DJ, no.
investigation.
DJ. They could have been two separate investigations, one on the House side, one on the Senate
There is
side.
more than one investigation going on, but
No,
this is
I
the
know.
main
That's
one.
not what
Go
I'm
ahead.
saying. That's not what I'm saying. The president can do an independent committee if he wants. The House can do an investigation.
Right.
The
There is
Senate
more
can
than
do
one
an
investigation
investigation.
going. But this is the main one. So tell me this,
No,
Leon.
it's not. It's the only one.
Leon. So should the GOP have the right to select who they want to sit on the committee?
No, because that's
No.
not.
What?
You
No.
just said Nancy
No.
Pelosi is the
Exactly.
leader of the House.
Why?
They don't even. They
Pelosi's
don't
the
want
leader
there
of
to
the
be a
House.
committee.
Numbers. That's the way the government works. The House of Representatives. So when the Republicans have
So
parties,
you're saying,
when the Republicans have the numbers,
that
they can
Pelosi-
appoint who they want.
So
They can
you're
do the
saying-
exact same thing, and they do.
So you're saying
No, done. DJ, yo, bro. They were going to kill Mike Pence. You're trying to blame the Democrats when the motherfuckers who broke in there wanted to hang Mike Pence because they believe he had some bullshit power he doesn't have.
Let me answer DJ's question. No, they shouldn't. And you know why? Because that's why that's why they pull jurors in a trial. If you are biased, you're not going to be on the jury. So why should they be able to put anybody on this committee if they're going to be biased? You need somebody that is going to listen to both.
So wait,
sides.
Congress doesn't
think
have
of it.
that authority. Congress, you can't compare it to a jury.
No. Think of it as jury. No. Think of it as jury selection. You can.
That was my point.
You can't compare them to a jury.
Yes, you can. Nancy Pelosi.
Yes, you can.
Has-
What do you think they do in impeachment? Who do you think is the jury in impeachment?
So you're telling me
Which is
that
a big
because
conflict
I
of
haven't seen the
interest.
jury recommend what sentences could be. Can Congress do that?
Yes.
No, they can't. No, they can't.
What do you think? What do you think they do in impeachment?
You tell me
Who is the jury in an impeachment?
Throughout history, you tell me one time throughout history where Congress put down a sentence for somebody. One time in history, in U.S. history. Tell me.
Oh my gosh.
This is kind of why, as angry as I am, I
impeachment?
don't feel like discussing this anymore, because more so than the facts or any of us are following to reach our conclusions is the motivations behind them. You're blaming everyone else except the person's responsible.
Wait. So we asked for 2 people.
I'm more concerned about what your motivation is.
Okay.
DJ, why are you
they asked for
everyone
2 people.
other than the president or the Republicans in regards to this?
They asked for 2 people to be, GOP asked, just send us 2 people out of 9, y'all said, to sit on the committee. What was
Those
the
are
problem?
only 2 who agreed to do it. Everybody else said no.
No.
Yep.
No.
Everybody else said no.
You don't know if they are the
Yeah,
only
I
2
do
that
know
agreed.
because I live
You
here
don't
and I
know that.
listen to it every day. So I know.
No.
Everybody else who they
selected-
asked to be
who
on that
selected-
committee initially said no.
No. Who selected the 2 people, GOP people, to be on the committee?
They
selected
agreed
themselves.
to do it.
They agreed to do it.
No,
No, we have to understand.
No, we had
no matter what,
Jordan.
the Democrats are clearly wrong.
Sean, did somebody else besides Cheney and Kissinger volunteer to be on the committee, Sean?
All right. So according to this, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi announced her picks for the committee. She chose 8 members, including Liz Cheney, while the other 5 will be picked in consultation with House Minority Kevin McCarthy. Let me keep reading.
5? Damn, 5.
No.
McCarthy had 5 picks. Oh
wait. No, I think we need to go back to the civics lesson again.
I want to move on.
For stand, no. Listen,
because this is pointless.
No. For standing committees,
It's education.
no. For standing committees, whoever has the
DJ, you're
majority.
working backwards with your conclusions.
I'm
I
sorry.
understand where you're coming from. I actually get it.
Why did they deny the 2
DJ.
GOP selections?
No. For standing committees, then the Republicans can pick who they want to serve. Democrats and Republicans can pick who they want to serve on standing committees of the government. They have a certain amount of slots depending on who has the power in a whatchamacallit. For special committees, it's up to the person who's the leader of the House. Yes, that's the way our government works.
Okay.
It is what it is. So when Republicans have the numbers, they select for special committees who they put on.
All right. So the GOP selected 2 people and Pelosi said no. Y'all agree?
Yeah, it was Matt Gaetz, Jim Jordan.
Oh, of course he takes out Matt Gaetz.
No,
he was the guy literally saying, "Hey, the election was stolen." Of course he kicked his ass out.
And what's his name? And
DJ, did you want Matt Gaetz on there? The guy literally saying, "We shouldn't certify the election at all." Me and my 17-year-old prostitutes, we know right now. Listen, it was totally stolen. It was totally illegitimate. Of course he's not on there.
That was a low bar. That was a low blow. It was accurate.
I'm sorry. It's just DJ. I swear to God, out of everyone here, I'm probably the closest to your way of thinking, and I'm telling you, bro, you're working
Which Republicans
backwards.
were rejected for the January 6th committee?
They were rejected. So what's the reason for
rejection? And why were they rejected?
Why?
Why were they rejected?
Because tell them. Anybody want to answer that question?
No, DJ.
I already said why they were rejected.
I made a joke about it.
Kevin McCarthy actively picked people whom he knew would be disruptive to the process, to essentially to try to derail the whole thing.
How are you disruptive? How are you disruptive to the process if you're bringing witnesses in and having
DJ? Some of the people he picked were the same people who on the Senate floor, right after it got assaulted, were trying to say, "Oh, the election was stolen and I have all this proof and evidence." You don't. You don't.
Who's the chairman of the
was it anybody that gave tours prior to January 6th? Was it anybody that gave tours?
Sean,
that one I don't actually know. Probably though.
Sean, who's the chairman of the intelligence committee that also sits on that committee?
Let me see. Who's the chairman of the intelligence committee?
And y'all tell me that this
Adam
guy,
Schiff.
Huh?
Adam Schiff.
Adam Schiff. So y'all telling me,
little man, it's time to pack it up. I'm still
y'all
doing
got a
this
problem
thing.
with them dudes. So Adam
Some of
Schiff
them.
and Swall, what's his name?
Rylan,
Swalwell,
you didn't turn off this computer.
who slept
I'm
with
gonna
a
try to
Chinese
install
spy
this.
and still sits on the intelligence committee?
We can do this with most of
because
our
Pelosi won't
politicians in
let him
terms of
leave?
finding dirt. I literally just made this joke about Matt Gaetz. Whoop-de-doo, dude.
Okay.
All right, folks. We're way in the
Flip
woods,
it,
man.
flip it somewhere else.
Way in the
Okay.
weeds, man.
My question is, if you just gonna have
There's always going to be
witnesses come
another
in,
question because
if
you're
you're
working
gonna have
backwards.
witnesses
I'm
come
sorry.
in,
I
and you're gonna
have a
ask
lot of
questions,
patience for this, but I'm
what's
at
the
my
problem
limit.
of having two
DJ,
GOP representatives? What's the problem with
DJ,
having two GOP
bro,
representatives out of 9
Rohim.
to sit there and ask their questions? What's the problem with that?
If they're biased, they're not going to have them. It's like
Okay, so
a jury.
DJ, when the Republicans get in office and they are able to select a special committee, are you gonna, and they select one Democrat and 8 Republicans, are you gonna say, why didn't the Democrats, why weren't they allowed to have 4?
I will have a problem with that. I believe in due process. I believe and I understand.
That's not due process.
Listen. I believe that it should be
fairness.
fair as possible. I believe if the
Due process
Republicans
don't necessarily
Which is what they were
fair.
trying
It
to
means
do.
that you carry
You're
out
asking
the
me a
process
question.
that's been
I believe
designated.
if there's an investigation going on, a congressional investigation going on, that the opposing party should be allowed to have on that committee anybody they want. That's
No, well then they can have every member if they have anybody that they want. Like that's not how the government works.
no. I said the
Elections
opposing
have no. As they say, elections have consequences, and when you're in the
right,
majority,
right.
you have the balance of power, so
Right.
you are able to slant things.
So again,
that's the way it works.
So again, y'all agree that with her decision not to have Jordan and the other gentleman on
Well,
there.
I think DJ,
Matt
can I chime in real quick? Jim Jordan
Yeah.
is currently under investigation, and they want to talk to him. So wouldn't it be a conflict of interest to have him on the committee?
Swalwell isn't under the investigation.
No. I'm not saying that, DJ. Jim Jordan. What I'm saying is Jim Jordan talked to the president before, during, and after January 6th, and they want to know the contents of his conversation. So if he's on the committee, is that a conflict of interest if he's on the committee?
I would love to be on the committee.
I haven't heard him being subpoenaed. Anybody heard Jordan being subpoenaed? I haven't.
Yeah.
No, they're not subpoenaing their fellow congressmen. They're asking them to come in.
Yes, they are.
They're
Don't
asking
they
them to
discharge
tell
him
them
with
what their
obstruction if he
conversation
doesn't
was.
comply?
Didn't they
Obstruction of
subpoena
Congress is
Mark
like a
Meadows?
big criminal thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mark
Didn't a
Meadows.
bunch of Trump's aides get in trouble specifically for obstructing Congress?
His aides, but fellow congressmen that they do law, they haven't subpoenaed them. They respectfully ask, hey, can you come in and talk? We want to talk to you. Now, if they don't come in, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
Now,
then it would be obstruction.
what's the issue with them not wanting to come in?
Well, you and I know, the answer to that, Liam.
I know the answer to that. But DJ, what's the issue with them not coming in?
Because from what they said that there is administrative confidentiality that a president share with, let's say, the gentleman who was his chief of staff. What's his name?
Mark Meadows.
Meadows. And so you ask Meadows to come in, and so they're saying, like, no, because when you come into a congressional, you got to take an oath. And so,
but DJ, Mark Meadows wrote a book, bro.
Yeah. So, but what Meadows said, what Meadows says, whether he wrote a book or not, what Meadows is saying is that there are things that take place, and you're talking about national security and security clearances. He says that I probably, as his personal advisor, because the chief of staff of any office, whether it's president, governor, or whatever,
Take Mark Meadows out. What's the issue with Steve Bannon testifying?
Huh?
what's the issue with Steve Bannon testifying? Since he's not a part of the White House,
you're right.
What's the issue with that?
You're right. So you're saying that Republicans are the only ones that are called into office and don't testify or fight testifying in front of Congress?
No. Don't flip it, bro. Don't flip
January.
it. Bring it back. We're not going down the foxhole.
Okay, then.
We're not going down the foxhole. What is the issue with Steve Bannon testifying? If nothing happened, if nothing was wrong during this, what is not just Steve Bannon, anybody, but I'm using Steve Bannon because he wasn't a part of the administration. Why did they have to hold him in contempt?
Initially he was.
When was he?
At the time of the incident, he wasn't part of the administration.
He was advisor. Initially, he was a part of the.
But he's not. He wasn't during the insurrection.
Right.
He wasn't during the riot. He wasn't.
No.
He wasn't doing all of that. So why couldn't he testify about that?
Well, tell me this, and I'm going to ask.
Wait, no. Answer the question.
Stop trying to switch gears.
Okay.
Answer their question. Okay, dude.
Because they're just being defiant, bro. That's the only way I can explain. They being defiant.
And aren't they wrong for that? Isn't that bad for the country? Isn't that bad for everyone? Isn't that them prioritizing literally themselves over country?
You act like Republican was the first one to disobey.
It doesn't matter. I'm saying the Democrats, pick any Democrat you want, any president. Them being wrong doesn't make the other guys right on this issue.
Topic. We're not trying to pull up old shit. We're trying to stay on one topic. Like why again? We can even go back to the Senate requesting trying to do an investigation to get all 100 senators to vote on it, and 50 of them did it. 50 of them said no, all of which were Republican. So if everything was all cool and good with this rally, why wouldn't they want to come forward and say, okay, we're going to hold this investigation? You know why they didn't want to do it? Because if they voted for it, their supporters back home would vote their asses out. That's what would happen.
What is the purpose? Tell me this. What is the purpose of the Democrats having the January 6th? What is their outcome that they're looking for? Do anybody want to honestly answer that question?
To make Trump to be disqualified from running for office.
Right, exactly. Who's the most powerful person?
He did lie about this shit, and it led to people almost dying, if not the other side.
In the Republican Party?
What?
Who's the most powerful person in the Republican Party?
Trump.
So Sean just said, y'all heard what Sean said?
Yeah, of course he is.
So there's a
which
method.
Is really a fucking shame.
So tell me this. Outside 2 hours, we had 2 hours of what y'all call insurrection.
Call it an insurrection, call it a riot, call it whatever the hell. It should have never happened.
Okay, let me finish. So was Congress able to still ratify the electoral vote? And how many hours after the insurrection did it happen?
What's the time?
What difference does that mean? What does that mean? What's the point? What's the point of the time? Let's say it was an hour and someone pulled out an AK-47 and shot 15 people. That I
will get to the point. I'm just asking a question. I will get to my point. So 2 hours, the insurrection lasted for 2 hours. How many hours after the insurrection were they able to come back? Congress able to come back in and ratify the electoral?
It doesn't matter.
It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant.
I'll buy how many? How many?
Yeah, how many?
Do y'all know? Anybody can answer. 4 hours.
I have no idea.
Sean, do you know?
I do not know.
4 hours later.
You don't got the answers. You got the answers?
4 hours later.
No.
I don't see the point of the question.
Okay. So what's the point?
Can I tell you the point?
Yeah, go ahead.
My point is, after that 2 hours, this January 6th insurrection, which is one of the most terrible things that ever happened in U.S. history, that people are comparing it to Pearl Harbor and 9/11.
Just one person. Just one person.
I would say trying to kill a vice president is pretty fucking bad.
Let him finish. Let him finish.
Let him finish.
Go ahead, DJ.
Can I finish my thought?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
After those 2 hours, up to the present, because 4 hours later, they ratified the electoral vote. Has Congress, as a result of that insurrection, has the function of Congress suffered? Have they not been able to fulfill their function after
Nope.
those 2
They've
hours?
still been able to fulfill their function.
DJ, are you trying to argue that this isn't a big deal?
No, my turn.
Yeah.
Hey, DJ, has anyone ever tried to kill you before?
Aaron,
No, please fill me in.
Aaron, pull it back, bro, young
Pull it
man.
back.
What did he say? What did he say?
Don't worry about it. Like,
You are trying to say there's been no effect. I would be a little fucked up if a group of people tried to kill me.
What did you initially say? Abstract. What did you initially say?
You're trying to say Congress was unaffected by this. I'd be a little fucked up if a gang of people tried to rush in at my job and tried to kill me.
Okay. So
if that happened to you, would you be unaffected?
All right. So have
no. Answer my question. Would you be unaffected?
Huh?
Would you be unaffected? If a group of people try to rush into your job, wherever you work or whatever, trying to kill you, how would you react? How would that make you feel?
Abstract, you want me to answer the question?
No, I want you to answer his question. That's what I want.
Okay. So 4 hours. 4 hours.
No. It's you. Let's say you are a politician. There's a gang of people outside who believe you stole democracy. You stole it. You are ruining this country. You are everything that is wrong with the world. They're busting in and they are looking for you. And how would that affect you? Would that have an effect on you? Would your life go back to normal after a group of people try to rush into where you work to kill you?
Are you going to allow me to answer? Okay.
I don't think he was interrupting.
So abstract. You know the guy with the buffalo horns on his head? Remember that? You know who that is?
Oh yeah, Davy Crockett.
You know the guy that they always showed that had the tattoos and had a buffalo thing on his head?
Yeah, he's still in jail.
Shaman. Yeah,
yeah.
QAnon shaman.
I'm asking abstract. Do you know who that is?
Of him.
Okay, abstract. When he walked into the chamber, was there anybody in there?
Yeah.
You are going.
A lot of people.
You are not going to answer me with the question.
It doesn't
Just
matter.
Answer
If
my question.
I walk into my neighbor's house and they ain't there, still trespass. Still trespass.
Allegas. What film you saw? What video you saw when that guy walked in that campus? In that Capitol
avoiding my questions.
And that Capitol Police officer walked in there. What photo you saw? I've never seen a photo, and if anybody else saw one, and I would want y'all to please corroborate Allegas. When that guy walked in there, was there any senators or congressmen in that chamber?
They already cleared the chamber. That doesn't change the crime.
It also doesn't answer my question.
Trespassing. B&E is still B&E. Breaking and entering is still breaking and entering.
With bombs and grenades and guns.
Might they hide
How
them?
to get alongside white nationalists.
That don't make sense.
Allegas. I said when that guy walked into that chamber, there was nobody in there, correct?
It doesn't matter.
I could walk into an empty bank and still attempted robbery.
Right.
Just say you're not going to answer my question.
No,
Move on.
I
It's clear you're not. You just keep trying to. The second we get on a subject, we go on to the next one.
You don't want to answer.
Abstract. No, I'm answering an abstract.
This is you dodging. No, you're asking other questions. How would you feel if they broke into your job looking to kill you, as if you are trying to override the will of what was it? What did Trump get? 76 million votes?
You asked me my opinion.
Would that affect you?
It would not have affected me after
then
I came back.
Try to understand this. You might have a super strong will. That's not everybody.
You asked me, would it affected me? I answered your question. Abstract. Did they not come in 4 hours later and complete the ratification?
Do you think they were unaffected by it?
You know
No,
what?
I'm not saying that.
You know what? You know what?
Answer his question. In order for us to him,
If it was that traumatic, why didn't they postpone it till another day?
Probably
As a
because
person
it's
that's
their
familiar with
No,
mental
job.
health,
the
everybody
Constitution.
responds to trauma
Yeah, the
different.
Constitution doesn't allow them to do that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
I'm just
DJ,
trying to
hey, DJ, can I
imagine
ask you a
not
question?
having some form of compassion for
You asked me a
motherfuckers.
question, Abstract.
Let
And
me
so
ask you a
Okay.
question,
again,
DJ.
You have an
Actually,
answer.
I knew the answer before I asked.
so
I asked it.
Abstract. So
Let me
Abstract.
ask you a quick question, DJ. Since you were
So
talking
today,
about the
you're
4
telling me
hours, right?
that people are still, you telling me that today, still, that people are, that those 2 hours of that insurgent into the building is affecting what Congress do.
Have you never been through anything traumatic in your life?
Hey,
You must have
DJ,
had a really nice
Abstract.
life.
Hey,
DJ.
so
Let me
question.
know if you want to trade.
Answer the
Let me
question.
ask you this, DJ. In that time period you put out there, what would you
Abstract.
say? 4
Abstract.
hours?
I'm
You said
33
4
years
hours, right?
military, bro. 2 years deployed, bro.
So then tell me,
Afghanistan,
has your military experience left you traumatized? Has it
No,
left
it
an
hasn't.
effect on you? I'm not
No,
saying you
no.
haven't been through more. I'm arguing that you've been through stuff. Has it affected you? Have people, I don't know the full extent of what you've been through, mind you, but I'm going to go on a wager and say going through traumatic experiences does affect you. You might still be able to perform going through a traumatic experience. I believe most of the people in this room have been through some shit. They've been able to keep going. It's not easy. Everyone responds to trauma different ways. Just because these people have been able to go back and do their jobs doesn't mean it didn't affect them. You're allowed for things to affect you.
Yeah.
You're
So
allowed
you're saying
to be
today,
hurt
when they
by
go
it.
into that chamber, when they go in that chamber, everybody has PTSD.
I didn't diagnose them, but I would imagine
You know, I
Everybody
can
responds
provide
to
some
traumatic
documentation on that.
events differently.
oh wait, go ahead, Leon.
There's no uniform way to
one of my
No, there's no
coworkers.
uniform way to respond to traumatic events. Everybody responds in their own unique way. That's the way trauma works.
One of my coworkers, his wife she still is. She's a lobbyist, and she was there that day, and she is still traumatized by that. Just because she didn't know what was going to happen, they were all hiding. She didn't know if she was going to die or not that day. So I can give you firsthand knowledge of the effects that had on folks.
Yeah, because they live in some sheltered lives, and that stuff
Really do.
Yeah, but you know what?
Everybody
But that's
that
their
was a
lives,
very
though. You can't. You
pristine lives living in $1 million mansions got them all twisted. Because America went through something for a whole 2000.
DJ, again, just because something is wrong in a different part of the country, in a different part of the life, doesn't make what happened to them okay. I would argue, regardless of your wealth, experience, how many parents you had, whether they loved you or not, trauma is trauma. People are going to respond differently to that. I don't care how big someone's mansion is. Going to work and someone trying to kill you is going to leave you fucked up. No one should have to go through that. And they're going to respond differently. I don't get how someone who's been through so many traumatic experiences, being someone in the army, can have such a massive amount of a lack of compassion for other people who went through something as physically harrowing as almost getting killed at their job.
True.
Do you think it's okay just to not give a fuck about people because they have money?
You're telling me that they were more at risk.
I'm not arguing more. I'm saying they were traumatized. I'm saying you were traumatized. It's not about more or less. It's about acknowledging trauma is trauma.
Okay,
it's not a competition.
I respect that. And so, listen, now you got a taste of real life and what people all summer long through 2020 when they neighborhoods was
Wait, how's that real life? Explain how that's real life.
Again, this is the same issue.
You know what?
The riots being wrong doesn't make the January 6th stuff correct.
They live in luxury on the taxpayers' dollars, and they live in their little and hanging out. We had real people, down to earth people, was having their businesses burned, and people being attacked and
DJ,
and beat up and killed, bro.
DJ,
For a whole year.
DJ.
So DJ, in that
DJ.
4 hours that you've been
So
proclaiming,
because they got a little taste,
DJ.
And we
hold up, DJ, hold on. Let me just ask this quick question. In those 4 hours that you said that took place between the time that the Capitol was storming until the time that they certified the election, how many people died?
1.
10.
Yeah.
10 people died.
Can you tell me what 10 people they died? So were anybody attacked? Those people who died, were they attacked by the mob?
Yes.
Name it.
The Capitol Police officer who was crushed was attacked. The Capitol Police officer who was hit in the head with a fire extinguisher. Yes. The people who were beaten with the flagpoles.
Somebody got hit with a fire extinguisher. He talking about Fitwick. He talking about Brian's
dude, 10 people died.
The official autopsy of why he died. Anybody want to tell him?
Dude, 10 people died in the storm of the Capitol. 10 people died. And then others committed suicide as a result of the trauma.
How many people died from the January 6th insurrection?
How many? No, it was 10. I thought it was 5. Jeez.
How many? I just looked it up on factcheck.org.
One of them was designated died.
Dude, it was more than one. If anybody died, nobody should have died.
Wait a minute.
Shouldn't have happened.
So you saying that guy Sidwick, Brian Sidwick or whatever his name is, you saying he got hit with a fire?
DJ, can I answer your question?
Yeah, somebody answer.
I don't actually want to keep going on this because it's a side of the point. Here is what I'm hearing. Here's what I'm actually hearing. You have suffered. You have gone through a lot of shit and a lot of trauma. And what it sounds like is your takeaway from all the trauma and all the horrible experiences that you've been through is no one has gone through. No, this is what I'm reading. Here's what I'm hearing from you. Because more so than your conclusions, I think it's important to discuss your motivations. Why you feel this way. There's a story, there's a stimuli from the story. Your takeaway from it is more important. You are someone that's what it sounds like. You are someone that has been through traumatic experiences. And it's kind of sounds like relative to you, no one has gone through as much as you have gone through. Ergo, whatever they've gone through does not matter. Because you have gone through more, that means what they've gone through does not matter. That's what it sounds like. The problem is what happened to you, whatever it is, whatever your experiences have been that have been so traumatic that have hurt you so much, I don't know the full story. It shouldn't happen to you. None of the traumatic events should have happened to anybody.
Really?
Whatever happened to you while you were overseas should not have happened. What happened to our Congress people should not have happened. The riots shouldn't have happened. It's not a question of which is more, which is less. It's recognizing that just like I've been through some shit too. Literally, most of this group, I know them intimately. They've all been through some shit. None of it shouldn't have happened. Your pain doesn't override, doesn't eliminate other people's pain. Pain is pain, and we all respond to it differently. It's okay to say that the shit shouldn't have happened.
What is your degree in?
Criminal justice, specifically victims advocacy.
So you're giving me a medical.
I'm not trying to give you medical. I'm trying to just share.
Pass the line and reel it in, Todd.
Folks, we need to stop here. We need to stop here. We've been going way in the weeds.
Y'all brothers have a good night. I'm about to check.
Before we go, I want to say
it was good seeing you, bro.
Can I just say that before?
Good seeing you, Sean.
Hang in there. Take care of the fam.
Intelligent, intellectual debate. We got to have one person. Listen, I might be that token person. And please, because I'm going to respect what y'all say. And I'm going to have a different opinion. All I can say is we can just respect each other's opinion. And I'll be that person we will generate conversation, hopefully intelligent conversation, and I'll probably have a different view than y'all, and I just hope y'all accept me to have my view.
Yeah,
and I think it's good.
No, we
absolutely.
Of course.
Hey,
So
I don't
you know
know
what
if you
though?
understand. There's a lot of people here that have conservative views, but not necessarily politically conservative views.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people on this panel that have conservative views. I'm one of them.
I think that, you know what? Here's what I believe. It's like people want to talk to people who only share their own point of view. So it's like if I'm in an echo chamber, everybody agrees with me, and I think the same way I do, I'm not challenged in my own way. So I appreciate people who have different points of view. It gives me something to challenge what I'm thinking. Because if I just around people who think the way I do, well, I'm only regurgitating what I'm thinking. It's echo chamber.
Right.
You need people to think the way differently you did. It
Yeah.
challenge your way of thinking.
Why fighting with
Even
Mike
if I
is fun.
disagree, I can say I disagree for these reasons.
I love
So
it.
no, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it.
Mike, I respect, and Mike, and I know I'm gonna probably say some things you don't agree with, and you're gonna probably say, but I'm gonna respect you, but allow me to be that person that, if y'all don't mind,
again will do my best.
You did good, Mike. You held on to the trigger for
you did
for a while.
Mike cares too much. That's his problem. There's a lot of love in that man.
Before we
I
go,
think I call a couple.
We get the sticker to Mike tonight. Mike gets the gold star.
But before we leave, I want to. There's two more things I want to mention. One more thing. The RIP, man. Sidney Poitier died recently. I mentioned it earlier. Earlier,
Yeah.
Call me Mr. Tibbs.
First black man to win the Academy Award. You know, he's what you call it. But another person who died recently that I didn't realize that, I don't know if you know of, Max Julian, the Mac. Max Julian died. Yep.
The Mac. Yep.
Yep. So I implore each of you to watch a Sidney Poitier movie and watch a Max Julian movie, preferably Thomasine and Bushrod.
I just recorded Bucking the Preacher.
I was at the drive-in. When the Mac came out.
The Mac.
I only know of the song that came out in the 90s, way before my time.
I'm tired of the Mac.
The original Mac. You need to do the knowledge on the Mac.
Richard Pryor. I was talking about what Aaron was.
Yep.
Let's do it again.
Fellas, let's do it again.
Uptown Saturday.
I was actually talking about the movie, but yeah, let's do it again.
Oh yeah, but seriously,
that was a good movie.
That was a good movie. But since we carrying on, go ahead. What you said?
Yeah. But seriously, guys, I respect and Mike, all of you, I respect your opinion. But all I'm asking, I'm gonna probably be that dude that step on y'all, and I hope y'all don't say, "Oh, here comes DJ," because I'm not gonna probably agree. I hope we can have this conversation, man. And I respect y'all, man, and everything, bro.
You know that DJ was
you keeping us sharp.
I appreciate DJ. I mean, we need somebody to kind of, like I said, to challenge your points of view. I think every idea shouldn't be just accepted. You know, you have to stress test it. Can it stand up to any kind of wind? You know, if you're building a house, if it's built out of straw and the wind blows, it blows it down. So it needs to have some sort of structure, some sort of something to keep where it's standing. So I appreciate anything. You know?
Yeah. And on the flip side, you also know who you're dealing with. You ain't dealing with no dummies. You know what I mean? You're dealing with some sharp dudes up there, so you got to come with it.
Yeah.
My entire degree has been me nothing but studying case law, news stories. I literally had to go on to Google and set like the date and times for shit for a specific search history. I did nothing but that for 2 years.
And you know, the other thing, just, and I'm actually glad to be back because it's been a minute, but also just the different aspects that we all bring to it. You know what I mean? Like we all don't 100% agree on everything.
Right.
So, that's the other thing that's cool to roll with.
Right.
And you know, we always like to hear from Mike.
Mike. He's like the smartest motherfucker
Mike,
here.
That's why I keep saying, Mike, yo, I respect you, bro. I'm gonna have. I know we're gonna.
It's fine. Like I said, I'm the local resident yelly person, and I do my best not to be, but always sort of ends up happening.
It's passion, bro.
Passion.
Mike, I keep saying your man's name, Mike. So I just want to know, bro. Listen, I respect you, man. Come on.
Thank you. It's fine. I look for.
And hey, it's all love over here. I love you.
No, I'm gonna go decompress. I'm gonna be honest.
All
right, y'all.
Good night. Good night,
All
gentlemen.
right, man.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, gentlemen.
Get
Peace
some
out.
fucking sleep.
Good
I got to
night.
pick up an 895 mass tomorrow.
Right.
Oh,
wow.
good Lord.
We can only do this via Zoom.